Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch tonight. Trey Patton is with me in the booth. Trey Shuttlesworth is playing Larry McReynolds tonight and working on our social media, so the guy is just multitasking to the max. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the IORL Imperial Motorsports California 500K. Say that 5 times fast and it gets even better. Presented by Timeless Engineering and Designs. We join you tonight from the virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the concluding round of the season. Opened in 1997 by Roger Penske on the site of Fontana's Kaiser Steel Mill, this 2-mile D-shaped oval was modeled after Michigan Speedway, but it is much wider and considerably bumpier, having never been repaved since it was originally built in '97. Auto Club Speedway has played host to a wide variety of racing series, including NASCAR, IndyCar, Kart, the Rolex Sports Car Series, and IROC, and last played host to the NTT IndyCar Series in 2015, where Graham Rahal claimed victory in a race that saw 80 lead changes over 500 miles. We're not quite going 500 miles tonight, Trey, but we are going 500 kilometers, and the last time we had IndyCars at Auto Club here on PitStop TV was when the SRCA IndyCar World Series wrapped up their season here in a 75-lap event that saw Christopher DeHardy save fuel after actually a mid-race pit stop and pull off a really impressive fuel strategy win over Ray Vaughan. Tonight we have Ray Vaughan in this race, no Christopher DeHardy, and we have, 80 extra laps. So we are going double the distance and then some tonight compared to the SRCA race. What should we expect?
I expect a lot of kind of what we saw at Michigan a couple weeks ago. Just a lot of hard racing. I don't know how the setup is for tonight, but I expect a lot of aero push, especially with these cars when they're going to be close together in a pack. I do expect some fuel strategy to come into play, considering it is a 2-mile oval. Just a lot of fuel strategy comes into factor here. Just a lot of probably, you might see some people hit the apron here. I'm not really quite sure. I haven't ran much of the IndyCar around Auto Club, so I don't really know what to expect. But I do know it's a lot more flat down there compared in the corners than it is at Michigan.
Yeah, Fontana Speedway tends to be a track, like you said, you're going to experience a lot more aero push just because you don't have as much banking to rely on as opposed to the Michigan International Speedway. Not completely sure on the specific specs, but you can definitely tell on quarter entry, whereas Michigan, it's almost like you're going up a hill a little bit. You're kind of diving down a hill a little bit on, getting a little jumbled up there, but yeah, it's a massive difference. And you also have a lot more racetrack to work with, and especially when the tires are fresh early in a run, you're going to be able to use a lot of the racetrack compared to the stock cars in the iRacing.com service.
Absolutely. So if we take a wide shot here, you can kind of get an idea of how this place looks. And this isn't maybe the greatest example, but you can definitely tell this place is absolutely modeled after Michigan International Speedway, if you've ever seen what it looks like in a track map. So definitely similarities, but just the way you attack the corner, I feel like entirely different no matter what you drive here, be it a stock car, an Indy car, what have you. It seems like an entirely different racetrack when you actually attack it, because it really kind of is. The banking is different, the grooves act differently, the bumps definitely change the attitude of the race car. So things, while similar between Auto Club and Michigan, are definitely different. We do have a couple of points to hit on this evening before we get racing. The first of those being our point standings. We come in tonight knowing who the champion is, just like the SRCA IndyCar World Series a few weeks ago. Ray Vaughan entered the final round that time as champion. Here tonight, he's looking to get up into third place, while Matt Chubb claims his championship this evening, and I can find that 42 car here for you in just a moment if he is on the racetrack, and he is. So Matt Chubb wrapping up his championship campaign in season 11 here of the IORL IndyCars series. Almost, actually no, that is that's 53 points over Scottless Rambler coming into tonight. So regardless of Scott's 4 wins, 3 more than Matt has, a 53-point differential coming into the final round is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, for sure. Nothing to scoff at, for sure. The thing that went in for Matt Chubb was consistency was also a thing there, because we saw Scott had a few races to where he actually did not finish the race, and Matt was able to do that and collect more points, which, as you can see here, ended up paying off for Matt Chubb at the end, because now he is our IndyCar champion for the IRL series. Good to see Spencer Madden back in the mix today. He's been gone for the last couple of races due to some, I believe, cross-country meets. As we mentioned, Ray Vaughan, 4th in points. Zach Buchanan, 5th place in points. Nate Seifker, 6th place. Franklin Ash, sitting at 7th. Bruno Carnero actually moved up to 8th place and replaced Joey Newsell's 8th place spot after last week's race at Laguna Seca, which moved Joey down to 9th. Warren Keith rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, this top 10 is actually the exact same here, Shuttlesworth, as it was going into Laguna Seca. The only difference is Bruno Carnero moved up 1 position. Obviously, the point totals are different, and Scottless Rambler added a 4th win to his win tally. Otherwise, everything very the same. It was a weird round last week at Laguna Seca. There was a lot of drama actually throughout the event, but oddly enough, the point standings just didn't move around much.
Yeah, we tend to see with this points format that was utilized by kart in the 90s that it can be very difficult to make up ground without a lot of strong finishes. It almost reminds me of what you see in Formula One, where if you don't have a top car that's able to go out there and get a top 5, it can be very difficult to make points up. So, yeah, it's kind of natural that you don't see as many position changes once you get later into the championship, but there's still a lot to play with tonight. Things that I'm looking at, for example, unfortunately, Nate Seifker, I think he said last week that his regular league was starting back up, so he won't be able to challenge Buchanan for a top 5 point in the championship. Ray Vaughan, though, he's knocking on the door of a podium position in the championship. Then, like you said, Bruno Carnero, he does move up a spot from last week after finishing, I believe, 4th last week. And he definitely has room to move up even more if he can overtake Franklin Ash. And, of course, Scottless Rambler doesn't have much to go for tonight except for glory and to add to his already massive win total here in the season.
Absolutely. Moving on from point standings, however, Matt Chubb, he wrapped that thing up a couple of weeks ago following Michigan. I want to actually talk about the IndyCar that we currently have. We all just call it the IndyCar, but what really is it? Well, it's the Dalara IR18 chassis, and we have kind of a breakdown here of some of the features in this Dalara IR18. Now, it's listed at maxing out, usually in race trim anyways, at about 700 horsepower. For these big speedways, it's toned back to 550, but usually you are going to be racing with those 700 horsepower. So certainly has plenty of power to it, though following kind of what NASCAR does, where they tone it back to 550, which I think is actually the same number that NASCAR does on the big ovals. But the turbocharger really makes a difference. The turbo really brings this V6 up to spec. I think maybe even beyond a lot of other race motors. Despite NASCAR's V8, this V6 puts out just about the same kind of power. Goes faster, considering this chassis is lighter and designed to go faster, but I think relatively equal power outputs between the two. I think obviously if you were to unrestrict the V8 that you have in the NASCAR Cup Series, it'd probably go quite a bit faster, but at least when it comes down to racing, very similar motors despite having 2 less cylinders here in the IR18 rather. Moving over to the chassis, see it's 1,620 pounds, and that varies a little bit depending on the racetrack that you're at. You can cut out about 30 pounds depending on where you are racing, but otherwise it stays right about at 1,600 pounds. And this did follow up the DW12, which we do have on the iRacing service. It isn't used all that often now. It is still used in the unofficial Dalara Dash series here on iRacing, so if you want to go have some fun, you absolutely can. Fewer air devices, and Shuttlesworth, you and I were talking about this earlier on when I was actually making sure we had this graphic to show everybody. Definitely a different, I think the biggest difference, but just a different approach to how to get this car around the racetrack compared to the DW12 is the aerodynamics.
You can definitely tell when you're in a corner, especially the fact that these cars, don't generate a whole lot of downforce compared, especially to the DW12, which of course was named after Indianapolis 500, two-time Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon. But it's a car that does create a lot of aero push, and I think as a driver, it's an enjoyable kind of aero push because it makes it incredibly difficult yet rewarding when you're finally able to pull off a pass. So you don't see the pack of cars that you might normally see at the super speedways such as Indianapolis, Fontana, or Michigan that you saw during the DW12 era. But you see guys that are, have to work very hard to get a pass off, and when they do, it is very rewarding as a driver.
And something else that these drivers and teams have to work with in open setup racing or in iRacing or in real life is actually the length of the wheelbase. It can vary a little bit depending on the setup. It can be, at least the iRacing options we have are 119 inches or 121 inches. Now that may be a little bit different in real life, actually. Shuttlesworth, you'd be the guy to go to on that out of the three of us. But Patton, this definitely opens things up. It actually changes the responsiveness of the car, and it's just one other little way that teams can really work to try and find the edge over everybody else in a race weekend. And I think the adjustability, the movement away from depending so much on aerodynamics is still obviously a very aerodynamic car, but trying to move to obviously, you can just see the smaller wings. If you know what the DW12 looks like, just the wings are so tiny in comparison. So absolutely a lot of differences these last few years getting used to this IR18 IndyCar.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I'm not very familiar when it comes to the different specs from the IR18 to the DW12. I'm more of a fan of just watching it. I don't really know a lot about the specs of the cars of anything, but enough of that. We have qualifying underway as we see Stephen Ellis takes the top time with 32.389, as we have multiple cars on track right now. Cole Freilich trailing behind in second right now by a gap of almost 1.5 tenths. As Cole actually crosses the line right now for a second lap and takes the pole with a 32.277.
So multiple drivers putting in their qualifying time. Zach Buchanan jumps up to 4th place. Stephen Ellis, now the fastest, moves back up into that pole position. We'll see if he can hang on to it. A couple other cars in the racetrack going to be Ray Dolly, Grant Timms, and guys, we were laughing about it a little bit. Grant Timms' unfortunate introduction here to PitStop TV back in Michigan a couple of weeks ago. It definitely got us up on our feet. Doubt it was anything intentional when he collected Ray Vaughan in that incident, but it certainly it was something. We'll just say that. But we're glad that he's out here giving it another shot this week here at Auto Club Speedway. He's currently 8th in qualifying, and that's nothing to scoff at. Even we've got about 15 cars, I believe, here tonight. But he's right there midfield with everybody else.
Yeah, that gives him a lot of competition. From what we heard, even though he's fairly new to the iRacing service, so it's definitely something for him to figure out and get used to. Like we said, what we saw at Michigan, surely not intentional, but definitely got a lot of room to learn as he actually cycles himself out 9th place right now, as we're watching Warren Keith take his, I believe this is his 2nd lap, because he's currently locked himself into 3rd place right now.
Yeah, he's slowing down, as is Bruno Carnero, but we have a heavy hitter on the racetrack. It's Ray Vaughan, and we don't see Scott Rambler in the field yet tonight. We'll see if he joins up here before we get going. But Ray Vaughan, I think, is easily the heaviest hitter that we have in the field tonight, at least based on the 15 that we have connected. And Ray Vaughan starts he's going to finish up his first qualifying lap. It's slowest on the board 33.181, going to put him 11th place out of 11 that have turned a lap so far. 11 out of the 15 connected. We see Thomas Gold is going to start his qualifying lap here shortly as well. He has something to talk about regarding Thomas Gold, actually, because Imperial Motorsports is sponsoring tonight's event. This is the Imperial Motorsports California 500K, of course, so we appreciate their sponsorship of this evening's event. Ray Vaughan going to go, I would hope, fastest, and he does. He jumps up by, let's see, 7/100ths of a second. So Ray Vaughan gets back up to where realistically we all know he should be. He's just so good in these IndyCars, especially on these big ovals.
I completely agree. I didn't expect anything less coming from Ray Vaughan. I'd say the only person I expected to be close to him in time was Scottless Rambler, but as you said before, he is currently not in the session right now, so I think this might just be the Ray Vaughan show tonight.
Well, as we get ready to roll down the starting grid, Ray Vaughan captures the pole. Stephen Ellis going to start outside pole. Moving back to row number 2, it's Cole Freilich and Warren Key, 3rd and 4th. Back to row 3, Spencer Madden going to roll off 5th, Ray Dolly in 6th.
Next row we have Joey Newsel starting 2nd. Outside of that row we have Zach Buchanan in P8. Next row we have Bruno Carnero starting 9th, and Marcus Jesdal rounding out our top 10.
A few more cars just to add to the field here. We talked about Grant Timms a little bit, Thomas Gold as well. He didn't get a qualifying time in, but he started his lap at least. Champion Matt Chubb going to roll off in 13th position. Timothy Trowbridge to his outside. And finally, the 15th car on the grid, Matt Walters will roll off as caboose. And we're so glad to be here at Auto Club. It really is one of the more fantastic big ovals that we have in America and on the iRacing service. It puts on a lot of good action, especially as the sun goes down, and it is going down as you can see. In fact, it's just over those mountains there on the horizon, and we get these beautiful, beautiful looks at the sunset this evening thanks to iRacing's latest updates with HDR and such. It's really added a lot to the service. It looks a whole lot better, but you know what? Bringing you those camera angles is Whiplash Media, and that's going to round up the couple of things we have to talk about. Let's go ahead and knock out our bill paying a little bit right here. Imperial Motorsports is a dedicated group of drivers that strive for clean and professional driving. Imperial Motorsports was created in 2016 and has continued to prove on-track success with numerous victories, including the iRacing Official Series Daytona 500 and Indianapolis 500. You can follow them on Facebook for more information and to keep up with all of their racing. We also have to thank Don't Drive Half Fast for putting up money for our poll sponsor, Hard Charger, Fastest Lap, and Halfway Leader. So the poll already goes to, well, Ray Vaughan. So we thank them for coming on. Last week I think it was Timeless Engineering and Design, which we said Tireless Engineering and Design all week last week. We apologize to Timmy Trowbridge for that. It's Timeless Engineering and Design picking up the presenting sponsor role. We also got to talk about the USRA. The United Sim Racers Association was created with the intent to bring the racing back to the drivers. Their Grand Am Series showcases Daytona prototypes, GT4 and TC cars with fixed setups with the intent to have the driver win the race, not the setup. The season kicks off in September with the 2.4 hours of Daytona, and to learn more, you can sign up or visit them at UnitedSimRacersAssociation.com. Now, that's all we got time for now, because these cars are getting ready to go green flag race. We'll tell you about Permanent Makeup in Maine and Whiplash Media soon enough. Coming to the green flag, Trey Patton, we are finally ready to get down to the nitty-gritty. 155 laps on tap, and it's all going to start off here in just a moment. Ray Vaughan leading us to the green flag, and the green flag flies. We are racing at Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, Ray Vaughan got a nice jump on that initial start, and that's going to put him ahead by about 3.5 tenths as we see some little action, side-by-side action going out throughout the field. I expect it to be panned out. It might be going single file here, as you'll see cars bobbing and weaving all over the track, trying to find the best spot for some slipstream and trying to find the best groove on the track for early on cold tires.
We've already had a pass for the lead. Ray Vaughan gets passed up by one. Cole Freilich taking point on lap 1. He's going to lead across the start-finish, and he's now going to have to play tango with Ray Vaughan. We've seen these guys do this so often in the SRCA IndyCar World Series, and even here in the IORL. Think back to Michigan for that one. These guys just swap the lead back and forth for laps on end, and they're going to do it one more time here into turn 3. Cole Freilich goes down to the bottom side, pulls a slide job here under Ray Vaughan. But Rick is letting that happen because it means they can leapfrog and share the draft and try to run faster and try to get away from the field. I say that as Steven Ellis pulls to his inside for what will be second place.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of action going on up front. As we mentioned, just talking about track stats, the last IndyCar race that was hosted here in 2015 had I believe it said 80 lead changes. So I expect early on in this race to see a lot of lead changes going on. Maybe not quite 80, but we will see a lot of lead changes and just a lot of action running up front.
We already have. We've seen a few different lead changes between these guys, and they're continuing to swap spots further back. Looking back to like Bruno Carnero, Joey Newsel, Spencer Madden rejoining the field. These guys all mixing it up here. You see Spencer Madden running that top side in that Wood Brothers inspired number 6. Oh, contact almost in front of him. That was Steven Ellis and Bruno Carnero that almost get into one another. Now, Bruno Carnero, if you think back to Indianapolis here, guys, he definitely upset a few drivers. I know you guys were in that race, so maybe Shuttlesworth, you can kind of explain kind of the outlook as to what happened there in Indianapolis.
I'll be honest, it's been quite a bit, but it was just the common symptoms that you see drivers complaining about on the iRacing.com service: overtly aggressive driving, resulting in accidents out on the racetrack. Very simply, he's definitely an aggressive driver, and he continues to keep it up. But I think he's really cleaned up his act quite a bit since that Indianapolis race. We don't hear as much negative radio chatter. Geez, I'm really struggling tonight. With Carnero over the radio. He grabbed the win at Detroit at Belle Isle, which is probably the most difficult road circuit that we visit. And then he grabbed the 4th place at another difficult road circuit in Laguna Seca last week. So yeah, he's already climbing up the board to P4, though. Very impressive so far.
Yeah, Bruno's certainly a good driver. It's just a matter of you don't want to upset those guys when you're racing toe-to-toe with them week in, week out. But it's worked out, actually. He's done really well. I mean, he followed Indianapolis up with that win at Detroit, like we mentioned. And he's been really good ever since. He did really good, like you said, last week at Laguna Seca. And now he's racing for 3rd position with Spencer Madden, as Spencer actually clears him and is going to start to roll up to Ray Vaughan and Cole Freilich, who continue to swap the lead over and over. Ray Vaughan now going to take over into turn 1. It's lap 7 of 155, and oh, Carnero up the racetrack and in the fence hard.
All right, man, caution is out. Caution is out.
So we were just talking about him. Man. I think you just said commentator's curse. That's absolutely right. We were just talking about him, talking about his aggressiveness a few weeks back in Indianapolis, a couple months now, but also talking about his recent success, and then he just gets the apron on the inside of the racetrack and overcorrects, pops the outside wall. And Patton, it is such a fine line that you have to ride at a place like Auto Club Speedway, where the fastest line usually is going to be around the bottom side, because you can get right down there and, of course, cut the rest of the excess track. And, man, you cannot get on the apron, though. Even in a stock car, that will upset the car quite a bit. You definitely can't do it in one of these Indy cars. Looks like we might have lost Trey Patton there for a second, but man, you see Carnero just, as soon as he touches the apron, the car just completely takes off on him, and he's up the racetrack. There's nothing he can do about it at that point. As soon as you touch that white line, you are off and away, and off for quite a ride.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. I had a mic issue there. But yeah, as I was saying, he just went down, touched that white line, just a major difference in grip there. And, as I was saying earlier, it flattens out and upsets the car quite a bit. And as you saw, he just overcorrected and sent it right into the wall.
We have one driver staying out here, Spencer Madden, going to stay on the racetrack. Actually, he's not alone. Steven Ellis as well. So as these pit stops commence here, Trey Shuttlesworth, what are these guys doing? Are they all going forward in fuel? Or are they going to try and mix it up?
It is a little early into the race, and just with the way an IndyCar pit stop, operates, I don't think there's too much to lose by taking 4 tires. The loss in track position, if you have the talent behind the wheel tonight, I think you can compensate for it very quickly, especially at a track where we're starting to get a lot more grip as the sun continues to set, and we're going to see more and more pack racing as the night goes on. Yeah, but that's the thing. These guys are going to pit for fuel. That's going to take about 2 to 3 seconds to throw tires on. It's only 3 to 4 additional seconds. It's only a 7 or 8 second pit stop total at maximum when you have to go for full fuel and tires. So not too much of a loss if you go for 4 tires this early. And definitely not 2 tires, as you might see on stock cars.
And everybody's going to take your advice there. Everybody goes for at least 4 on fuel. It looks like the fastest pit stop goes to Ray Vaughan at 7.9 seconds in the box, 37.2 overall. The slowest goes to Joey Newsel, 10.7. He may have had a bit of damage to repair, might have had to replace a wing, not totally certain. So 13 cars make the start of the race. We still have all 13 running, despite Bruno's big issues, because these guys all get a fast repair. And Patton, that's so important sometimes when you have that early kind of mistake, to have just that quick mulligan, because sometimes, I mean, it's iRacing, we're not paid to be professionals here. We're just going out there and having some fun. You might make some mistakes, as Bruno Carnero just did, so having that mulligan in the bank is pretty nice.
Oh, for sure. But the one thing about that is that they only get 1 mulligan at this thing. So with him only, just using it, you would think that he would be a little less aggressive now going forward. But, this is Bruno we're talking about, probably one of the most aggressive guys in the field. So he might just be trying to go for it, or we might see him hold off.
You know what? I think back to Kyle Busch when NASCAR and Fox made their foray into iRacing. Kyle Busch, I mean, he might have had a fast repair or 2, but he was certainly still going to be aggressive, and he was going to make the most of his little opportunity to have some fun here on the sim, and he definitely did. I think he roasted through a few fast repairs when they had those couple of races back earlier this year. Now lap 10 of 155. We're going to be coming to the restart here shortly. Spencer Madden is now your leader. To recap on that, well, he simply stayed out. He was catching up to Ray Vaughan. I think he was 3rd when the caution flew. And he was catching Rick and Cole for that lead battle, but he hadn't quite entered it just yet when Bruno Carnero, in fact, he was racing Bruno up until Bruno got loose there on the bottom side of the racetrack by touching that apron and going for that bit of a spill. But Spencer Madden opts to stay out and is going to have about 8 lap old tires as far as green laps, but obviously this heat cycle, there we go, going to change things up. So only 10 laps in the books of 155, a lot of racing to go. Spencer Madden is your race leader, and we're back green flag racing here from Auto Club Speedway.
They get a nice little jump there on the start, pulls out, according to our timing screen, about half a second. But as you said before, it doesn't take much for these cars to get back together. Slipstream is such a huge factor at these cars. As you can see here, they're already getting in a line, getting that slipstream together, so expect them to be jumbled up here very, very soon. As we can see entering the corner, that half a second now is only about a car length and a half.
You're just watching these guys try and figure out how they want to make their first move. Ray Vaughan's going to go to the top side. He's going to clear Ellis now side by side with Madden into the corner, and he has the nose ahead before they even get there. Going to sink down onto the right side pod there of Spencer Madden for a moment, then gives him some room. Cole Freilich, Spencer's teammate, gets into this as well. And those two meme team machines are going to try and go after Ray Vaughan's number 5 here. Well, I say that, then they get single file, and Rick clears Madden out of turn 4 pretty easily.
Yeah, they clear them pretty easily side by side at the line. Looks like Spencer Madden will get that lap. Thomas Gold just set the fastest lap of the race. He's actually running in 6th place right now. As we can see, still some side by side action going on throughout the field.
And speaking of Thomas Gold, that white yellow machine there on the bottom side, he is kind of the pioneer driver here for Imperial Motorsports. He is one of those guys, and that's why you see the colors matching there. You can see the Imperial Motorsports there, the logo on the bottom side of your screen. So he's kind of their first foray into the IORL that I know of. Now, there could be others, but Imperial Motorsports is being represented by the number 10 as he scored number 97 on the car. He's going to go 3 wide here with Ellis and Warren Keith, though, and he's going to go for that spot. I think that's for 4th, and it is. And he's going to get Steven Ellis into turn 3 for 4th place.
Yeah, lots of aggressive driving going on. You know, especially gets him a lot of screen time right there. You know, talking about him and being the presenting sponsor of the race, and then making an aggressive move like that. Now he's up in the mix for a lead. You know, just following in the tracks, of Ray Vaughan, Spencer Madden, and Cole Fraley up there.
So as he's here in the dirty air of these couple of cars in front of him, he has a few options to try and change the handling of his race car. You can do so in a couple of different ways, as much as the options, of course. You can change the roll bars and their stiffness. You can change the weight jacker as well, so you can move the weight around in the race car. Shuttlesworth, what exactly does that all mean?
Talking about the weight jacker or the anti-roll bar?
All of the above.
So personally, you know, I'm seen as one of the more knowledgeable with the cars, but honestly, I haven't had much of a chance to play around with the weight jacker in fixed setup racing so far. And because it's something that's on the oval side of things, and I've just been doing a little bit more on the road side lately, haven't gotten too much of a chance to use it yet. But the anti-roll bars is something that you'll more commonly use on the road side of things. And essentially what it's doing is making your springs either stiffer or softer. It's going to make corner loading a little bit easier, but you know, it's not going to have other different result. Yeah, the issue though is that like I said, weight jacker is the thing that's going to come into play tonight. And I think that's actually adjusting the cross weight and balance of the car, which is, again, to help assist with cornering load.
Yeah, so it's literally jacking weight onto the left front or onto the right rear corner of the race car. So it's moving where the weight is, changing the weight almost of the car to just give a favor to the left front or a favor to the right rear to try and tighten or loosen the car. Obviously, if you have more weight in the rear, it's going to be a bit more free. I guess that would be a little backwards. It would be a little bit tight. See, it's even been a minute for myself. I know what it does. It's a matter of which way it does which that I always get mixed up. It always comes back with the Indy 500, at least for me, because I always run that each year, and that's when it's most evident. 3 wide for the lead here on lap 19, and I think Thomas Gold might have made some changes to his weight jacker or roll bars, because he takes the lead on the bottom side, up ahead of Cole Fralick and Ray Vaughan, rather commandingly as well. Goes the number 10, rather, to the lead. Now Fralick going to dip back down to the bottom and try and go for that lead once more. He gets it. Ray Vaughan to the inside of Gold, and they're going to battle up out of turn 4.
Yeah, watching this battle is very, very, it's got me on the edge of my seat. You know, I'm the one watching. You know, I'm not even in the one driving right now. It's just a very close battle, as we're going to go on board with Warren Keith and just watch this action unfold.
Warren Keith up out of the corner, goes up to the top side, right by those famous blue walls here at Auto Club Speedway. When we covered SRCA before, our social media guy Ben, for that race, Noah Carmichael posted a picture, and I just want to bring some attention to this. We'll talk about it here as they go into turn 2 again. Up on the outside wall, they've actually got Bienvenidos A, which means welcome to Auto Club Speedway. And I just thought it was a nice touch that Auto Club has that. Usually you see like the track logo when they have it up there. And then right here you can see Bienvenidos A in red. Oh, and Ray Vaughan! Oh, dear.
Thomas Gold also hard to the inside wall.
Oh dear, there's more contact. Oh, more contact.
Not quite sure what happened there. We will have a replay right here as we were actually on board. I think was with Warren Keith, so we saw that happen right in front of him. Replay of it right here and let Andrew talk us through it.
Oh, some contact between Gold and Ray Vaughan, and then Gold ditches the car. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a hard hit. That's a really hard hit, and thankfully, the contrast to this race, between this race and, for example, NASCAR at Kansas this past Thursday, is we winced for a second, but then remember, these are all pixels, and Ryan Preece took a big header into the inside wall at Kansas not so long ago, and that was a scary hit. This one almost mirrors that. You see what causes it right there, though, is, I talked about the in-car adjustments and how they might have gone right for Thomas. I don't think so, because he gets tight in the dirty air and just washes up into Ray Vaughan, causing that contact and causing this incident. Ray Vaughan goes up into the outside wall and will follow exactly what happens to the number 5 here. So Gold actually, I think, had to, okay, so there it is, the move out of 4 to get up underneath Ray Vaughan. We'll watch it all play out one more time. But, man, that was a really vicious hit for Thomas Gold. Thankfully, he's not going to feel it in the morning because, again, 1s and 0s here for iRacing. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with those repercussions if he actually hits that wall hard. Ray Vaughan doesn't actually get collected until the very end here. I'm not sure how to explain that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. I'm trying to watch that. I'm not sure if he thought Rick was going to say low and then came up on the track, or if he was just paying attention there.
So this is Ray Dolly we're on board with. And I'm not sure how to explain that.
Yeah, it just looks like he drove right into him.
I
mean, not quite sure. I mean, I doubt it was intentional contact. I mean, because that'd be pretty foolish, but nonetheless, I mean, the contact happened, and as we see now, looks like he has that car repaired, so I guess that's that.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm not sure what to even say about that, how to call that or anything. That one actually leaves me a bit speechless, and we know, because we know Ray Vaughan, he's not going to be happy about getting hit so far after the caution there. And I can't blame him, quite frankly. You see one more time there. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know how that one happened after the fact. But that's Ray Dolly, the number 31. Something had to have gone wrong or something, and he ends up in the right rear of Ray Vaughan's number 5, and then he goes for a bit of a spin there. Now, in fairness, that time it's because the car is so broken. That's not really his fault. Granted, the incident obviously caused the damage. Moving on from that, though, we do have a new race leader. Well, not totally new, but Cole Freilich is going to take over the number 1 position on the scoreboard. Pace car lights are out. We'll be coming to the green flag this time by. And we had some pit stops there to shake things up. That's why you see these guys in some different positions. So Cole Freilich, your race leader. Warren Keith in 2nd place. And it says we're green flag racing. Don't worry about that. I'll try it. There we go. We have yellow lights again. Marcus Jesdahl. We haven't talked about him all night long. In 3rd position here, Patton. And the barrel number 43 might have something for these guys on this restart. We'll have to wait and find out. Stephen Ellis in 4th place. Spencer Madden in 5th. And it's Zach Buchanan, Bruno Carnero, Joey Newsel, Matt Chubb, Ray Vaughan, your top 10. Grant Timms lines up in 11th. Thomas Gold in 12th. Ray Dolly, after that big spill down the backstretch, in 13th. He's catching up to the field right now, actually. Timmy Trowbridge never made the start. Matt Walters never made the start either. So those guys, unfortunately, both 23 laps down as we come to complete 24 circuits around the Auto Club Speedway. That means we've got 131 to go as we restart. Cole Freilich is the race leader over Warren Keith and Marcus Jesdahl. Green flag flies. We're back racing at Auto Club.
We always love some green flag action. As you see, Cole Freilich got a good start over Warren Keith. But as we've mentioned before, it will not take long for this pack to be all jumbled up together again. I expect some people that we haven't seen up front a lot. Zach Buchanan made his way up into the top 6. Marcus Jesdahl, Stephen Ellis, even Warren Keith back up front. Expect to see maybe some new leaders coming up very, very soon.
These guys all get up to speed and get their tires warmed up and get ready to do battle. Stephen Ellis gets on by Spencer Madden for 4th. And those two are going to do battle just behind the top three as they start to go at it. Warren Keith up in the top spot. That puts Cole Fralick into a battle with Marcus Jesdal up out of turn number 2. Jesdal going to fall into third place for now. And they're snaking down the back stretch. It's rather early here, boys. You don't want to do too much just yet.
Yeah, they were snaking around quite a bit, you know, especially with cars being that close. You don't want to snake around too much and accidentally clip somebody. You know, it doesn't take much. There, as we see, we're almost 3 wide for the lead there. Warren Keith still holding on to the lead, battling Cole Fralick and Marcus Jesdal as they're side by side out of 2.
And you know, one thing to keep in mind is, like I just said, there's still 125 laps to go here once we get through the completion of lap 30. So we're a couple of laps away from that point. These guys have a lot of racing left, and I think one big difference from Auto Club to Michigan is these guys have a lot more grip. It's a lot racier here at Auto Club, despite the older track, and that's because, well, I don't know why it's racier exactly. But it's because we're getting into the nighttime. The track is cooling down. They can actually race each other a little bit. Another point to make, though, is we actually raced on the legacy version of Michigan International Speedway, so it was the 2009 scheme, as opposed to the current 2018 version of Michigan International Speedway. So some differences there as well. And 3 wide again for the lead, but these guys definitely are going to be racing like this all night long. We saw great toe-to-toe racing in Michigan all night long, but I really think this race is going to outdo it.
Now look at that, Ray Vaughan already back up to the 5th spot. As we see, he is right in front of Spencer Madden of that 6 machine. Ray Vaughan wasting no time from being using up his faster pair. Looks like he's going to slice his way down into 4th place, battling Zach Buchanan right now.
He's going to go actually to the outside of Jesdal as well. Wow, he's from the top side. Now, we saw this in Michigan a few times. I didn't think we'd see it tonight, but Ray Vaughan just made the top work, and he vaults himself back into 3rd position. I'd say that was a bit of a power move there from Ray Vaughan in the Rick Mears throwback that he always runs and makes famous for himself. He's now going to be going after Warren Keith and Cole Fralick. Some snaking, some moving, some blocking almost, some defending down the front stretch, and they're going to be 3 wide again.
Yeah, Ray Vaughan is most definitely doing some aggressive moving as they're already battling aggressive for the lead, but he doesn't want to be any part of that, as it looks like he gets right up to the next, right up to the outside wall and powers his way to the lead as we go into turn 3.
Another thing these guys will be going for here is that extra bit of well, bragging rights, and I believe a fastest lap bonus point. I could be wrong there, but the fastest lap presented by Don't Drive Half Fast this evening. There we go. Don't Drive Half Fast. Picking up the fastest lap rights. Currently, it would go to, I believe, Marcus Gold. Oh, you're right. I think it is Thomas Gold with a 31.612. You're right. So Thomas Gold currently would get that award, but we've still got 120 laps to go and then some. So we'll see if Thomas Gold can make it through the rest of this race and hang on to that fastest lap. Meanwhile, they're mixing it up ahead, and he actually goes faster right there by 5/1000ths of a second. As we're talking about the fastest lap, I mean, that's perfect timing. As we're talking about him having the fastest lap, he goes a little bit faster. Again, that award presented tonight by Don't Drive Half Fast. Meanwhile, these guys battling for the race lead, they're certainly driving full fast this evening up here. Warren Keith gets back up into P1. Cole Fralick down to the bottom side. He wants that lead at the stripe. He gets it. The Meme Team Machine carrying our likeness actually there on the engine cover. Appreciate that, Cole. Goes up into P1.
Yeah, lots of aggressive action. You see Marcus Jesdal getting up into the mix here right behind and the tracks of Warren Keith. Ray Vaughan sailing around in 4th, Spencer Madden in 5th, Joey Newsel in 6th place. They're all just kind of in the tire tracks here. The top 3 kind of under a blanket right now. 4th place on back. Still a little spread out. But the top 2 side by side, as we saw last lap, looks like Cole Fralick is going to lead that lap, as we're 3 wide almost going into.
He's got a spinner in the back, and this is Steven Ellis. He's down through the grass. He hangs onto the car. But thankfully, no caution's going to fly for that. Jesdal up the racetrack. He's going to lose some time in this battle. He's now going to fall into the reins of Ray Vaughan. And a big move from Warren Keith. He almost drove down onto the apron, down to that wall that Thomas Gold hit a little while ago. He gets it back onto the racetrack, but that's going to be detrimental to his cause. He's going to fall back into 4th spot, it looks like. Ray Vaughan using the draft to get on by him by the stripe. Warren Keith slots into 4th. Meanwhile, the battle's back on for the race lead. It's Jesdal passing Freilich into 1.
Yeah, good to see someone new up front, Marcus Jesdal, with that power move over Cole Freilich, as we see side by side. I expect to see some snaking going down here. Actually, no, I was wrong. Looks like Cole's just going to use the bottom line to his advantage and power around and make that pass. See a potential slide job for the lead. Not going to happen. Cole Freilich stays in front, leads that lap.
Yeah, this battle is just insane. It's ramping up as the laps go by. And Ray Vaughan, he got really close to the left rear there of Jesdal out of turn number 2. He slots back in behind him. These guys draft down the very bumpy back straightaway into turn 3. That very old pavement has gotten worn out, and I think even since this place was built, it's just been known for those bumps up in those higher grooves entering turn 3, and it really upsets these cars a bit, especially these Indy cars. It's double wide again, the race leader. It's Freilich over Jesdal for now, but Jesdal's working that top side in a little bit. He had some help going into the corner from Ray Vaughan. Ray Vaughan backs off just a bit. They're going to Ray Vaughan snake down to the inside a tiny bit. And now Jesdal is going to go to the inside and take over the race lead.
It's a little information here. Trey Shuttlesworth, as we mentioned, our analyst actually provided me some information regarding lap time. So after about a 10 to 12 lap run, lap times are about half a second. So we have about a half a second fall off after a 10 to 12 lap run. So expect that to come into factor way as we get further on into a run.
These guys are continuing to battle. Warren Keith has re-entered the chat, but so has Spencer Madden. These guys battling for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And actually, we've got a slow one. That's Cole Freilich down the bottom side of the racetrack. He's spinning into the pit lane. Will we get a yellow out of this? He stops. I don't think we'll get a yellow. He's going to back up into the pit lane and resume. And let's see what happened to him. I wonder if he had some kind of issue there on his computer. That looks like all of the telling signs of maybe a Windows update actually getting in his way, because he just hooks the wheel left and stops.
Yeah, that
unless it was a failed pit entry, it might have been.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, maybe he tried to come into pit road, maybe try to split a run in half or something, and then just locked it up a little bit. And I'm not really quite sure.
Yeah, he did just get service. That may have just been a failed pit entry attempt. We'll have to see when these guys decide to duck down the pit lane. It's a bit early, I feel like, to come down the pit lane, but he might be trying to work the race in reverse and try and make sure he's good to go at the end. Meanwhile, they continue to battle for the race lead. It's Ray Vaughan and Jesdal going at it. Now, if you go back a couple of weeks back, actually 3 weeks ago now, these guys, they certainly riled each other up a little bit. Mostly Jesdal getting in the head of Ray Vaughan, getting him a bit annoyed with some of the antics, the tactics rather, that Jesdal was using to try and get the race lead. Up here in the booth, we felt like it was racing, but obviously things are a bit different between what we feel like and the drivers, and obviously the drivers want to be treated with some respect, so I can understand where Ray Vaughan's coming from, and they're going right back at it, and I think it's only fitting that we come to a racetrack modeled after Michigan, and they're going right back at the lead right now, and Jesdal is actually going to crowd him up the racetrack a tiny bit there, making him work at it at the top side. In fact, we see the same thing he did at Michigan. He takes the bit of a higher line, makes Ray Vaughan go around the top side, and he's going to try and hang on to that spot for now. No, he's going to fall in behind the gearbox there, Ray Vaughan. We also saw some interesting racing out of Jesdal last week at Laguna Seca. A couple of mistakes caused some pretty big stir in the IORL.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I was like, you want to talk about being aggressive on an oval? Last week at Laguna Seca, he was being a little over-aggressive, if you will, and caused up as you said, a little controversy and everything had everybody going and rumbling and wondering what was going to come into this week. And now that we see them both up front, this is exactly what I expected to happen with Ray Vaughan and Jesdal up front. As we see, Jesdal runs him up the track a little bit, and it looks like he's going to take the lead out.
And guess who's right back in this fight as well? It's one Thomas Gold. He hangs on to the fastest lap for the moment. Won't see too many fastest laps for a while now, as these guys are into a run. And as Shuttlesworth gave the information to us there, these guys are going to lose some lap time, of course, over the course of a run. Now, Shuttlesworth, I do want to ask, what are some of the implications of Cole Fralick pitting right there? Do you think it was possibly an attempt at an actual scheduled pit stop, or was it just a mistake, like I mentioned, maybe even a Windows update?
Well, that's the thing. When you're working with a simulator or, a video game, pretty realistic video game at that, there's a multitude of issues that you could have, whether it be with your PC or within the game itself. I haven't gotten any updates from Cole Fralick quite yet on it, and I didn't see the full replay in full yet. But yeah, like you said, it could have been a number of things. I don't honestly think it was a genuine attempt to pit this early, unless he's looked a little bit more into strategy than anyone else, including myself. It just would seem very unwise to go for the short pit that early.
The only thing I saw Cole even really relay about that was just a whoops. So I don't know if that was, like we said, on purpose or a failed pit entry, but all I've seen from Cole was just whoops.
Well, that definitely makes it sound like it was a failed pit entry, in which case I go back to the possibility of working this race in reverse. I noticed it was about 110 to go when he pitted right there. And the reason I bring that up is because if you work the race in reverse, thinking about 35, 40 laps to a run, 44, 155. Now we're working kind of off of our Michigan numbers, which again weren't totally proven, kind of fluid, but that brings you to 115. Oh, we have a spinner. It's Thomas Gold. This conversation may be completely out the window. Thomas Gold spins to the inside, is going to get that car righted. Hopefully will not bring a caution out. Ray Dolly doesn't steer to the left this time, clears the number 97, and we continue racing. But that brings you to 115, just 40 back from the end of the race. 40 back from there is 75. 40 back from 75 is 35. He hit it about 43, 44 there. So he might just be trying to work the race in reverse to give himself some insurance laps there on fuel. I'm not really sure what else that could have been.
Yeah, I'm not really... Oh.
The one thing that we do have to note is the fact that these guys are working with a fuel cell that's only at 75% of maximum load. And so it can make it a little hard to even estimate fuel numbers, even based off of the SDRA IndyCar World Series race at Fontana a couple weeks ago here at Fontana, because I think they were on a 60% fuel load. And so it's going to be entirely different numbers from what we saw. But yeah, I'd say Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we see a full fuel load at 30 to 35 laps. So at a track slightly smaller, we might be looking at a number a bit similar.
Yeah, the fuel load's definitely going to be quite similar. I don't expect it to be, as short, but I think people might be trying to cut it short, as we saw Thomas Gold spun around there. So tires are going to play a factor into here as we're on almost a 29 lap run now. So fuel and tires are going to play a factor here very soon. So I expect within maybe the next 6 laps we might see some cars coming down pit road.
Well, he's not coming down pit road just yet, but one driver I want to talk about, actually we do have a pitter, it's Marcus Jesdal. I was going to talk about Matt Chubb, our champion, but now Jesdal going to be the second of the leaders to come down the pit lane and take 4 tires and fuel. Warren Keith going to follow, Bruno Carnero following those two. So 3 pitters this time by, and this certainly opens the strategy up. This is actually about right on cue, I would think. We saw, I think, roughly this length at Michigan, a little bit longer at Michigan, I believe, but we could be working with some fluid numbers again because of fuel limits and such. And obviously these guys racing in a draft. For Ray Vaughan now comes down, Joey Newsel follows him. So the only drivers that have not pitted yet for this run are Spencer Madden, Matt Chubb, our champion, and Zach Buchanan. 3 cars left to come down the pit lane. Actually, no, a 4th, Thomas Gold. But it looks like, I don't know, he clears the field right there. But of course, he had that spin, so unless we get a caution, he is pretty well written out of this one, at least for the race win. It's worth mentioning now, Cole Freilich, 12 laps on these tires and fuel. So right about smack dab in the middle of what these guys just ran is Spencer Madden and Matt Chubb, both going to visit the pit lane. Zach Buchanan, though, stays out one more time around.
Yeah, per race control looks like Zach Buchanan will be pitting in this time. So it looks like Thomas Gold will cycle out near leader, I believe.
Patton's having some issues there, definitely a bit roboto, but Shuttlesworth, I want your thoughts and opinions here, because you are our analyst, you are our Larry Mack. What do you make of all this?
I think we're having a bit of connection issues on your end. I'm not sure, because I'm hearing some micro discrepancies with on both of your ends, but it could also be mine very well. But honestly, I think I have to give myself a bit of a chance to run some numbers before really commenting here on what these guys are thinking. I haven't had much of a chance yet. I've been doing a little bit too much on the social media side of things, but the next thing I'm going to do is some number crunching, just going off the fact that we did restart this run on lap 25, and from there it should be pretty easy to run some numbers and see what we're looking at in terms of pit stops from the rest of the way.
Yeah, we're looking at about 30 laps now. It's not counting... well, that is counting, rather, the caution laps we turned. But looking at about 30 laps that these guys just ran before they pitted, so that really opens some things up. That means they're going to have to pit quite a bit more than we were planning on. And they've still got probably 3 or 4 pit stops left to make then, as these 4 drivers have cycled out into the lead battle. It is Spencer Madden, Ray Vaughan, Marcus Jesdahl, and Matt Chubb. They're all on top of one another. A little further back, Warren Keith, Joey Newsel racing each other. And then even behind that, Zach Buchanan's in a bit of a pocket before you get back to Stephen Ellis, Bruno Carnero, and Cole Freilich. So after Freilich's spin, he cycles into 10th place for now. Ray Vaughan back to the inside of Madden for the race lead.
Yeah, as you said before, we have a 4-car breakaway after that cycle of pit stops, and like about 4 seconds back to 5th place Warren Keith. So I expect to see some quite aggressive, but still somewhat clean racing between this top 4, because we don't want to see any more caution flags come out.
Now, I was going to start talking about Matt Chubb a little while ago, and here we go. The number 42 making some rounds around the racetrack. He started 13th. So dead last of the cars that actually made the start of the race. He's now racing in 4th and has some opportunity to get even higher. Now, when we talked to him at Michigan after his championship, he mentioned how he usually does opt not to qualify and start from the back of these big oval races. He does the exact same thing here, and it's clearly working out for him. He finished, I think, 3rd at Michigan. He's going to finish up front once more here at Auto Club Speedway if things hold. I mean, he's racing for that lead battle right now, so he can easily go up for the race win before too long. He hasn't led any laps just yet, but I wouldn't put it past him before the night's over.
No, I wouldn't put it past him either, and it's not like he has anything to lose. He's coming to this race, and he already has the championship locked up, so, I mean, the only thing he can really go for at this point is try to get that race win, you know, and, I mean, even if he doesn't get it, he's still the champion regardless.
So Matt Chubb currently running 4th place. He saw these battles going on ahead, and it's still going on ahead. Ray Vaughan does get clear, though, of Spencer Madden. That is for the race lead. Now Marcus Jesdahl all over the gearbox of Spencer Madden down into turn 1, makes his move to the inside. That, well, was for 2nd. It's actually for 1st here. He makes a move here, and Ray Vaughan as well, and he noses ahead for a moment of the number 5. Ray Vaughan gets a bit of a momentum jump on Jesdahl down the back straightaway, and they're going to keep racing. We'll see if Jesdahl utilizes the bottom side one more time. Well, he was thinking about it, and then Ray Vaughan closed the door and blocks down to the inside. It's not quite a block, but it's blocking the clean air from the front wing of Jesdahl's machine, and that's so important because it means Jesdahl obviously can't occupy that space, but also is going to lose some front grips and front turn. That said, he drafts up into the inside and around Ray Vaughan through turns 1 and 2 for the race lead, but Ray Vaughan continues to battle back.
Yeah, Ray Vaughan and Jesdal obviously has a little bit of history of battling, and we were talking about crunching some numbers earlier, and Trey Shuttlesworth, I believe, has ran some fuel calculations, so we'll get his side of that.
All right, yeah, thank you, Trey. So, based off of that last run, the farthest we saw anyone go was probably Zach Buchanan, who went about 28 or 29 laps on that last run. We restarted it on lap 25, and we have to go 155 laps all the way to the end. So this run will be about 130 laps, I believe, to the end of the race. So given those numbers, you have to fill up on 4.5 full fuel loads. So we will have to stop about 3 more times unless you can pull out some very intelligent strategy moves. And I think Cole Freilich, he was the one to commence the cycle. He's right on the cusp of making it possible, and I think he would have to stretch the fuel a couple of laps over the course of the entire run.
Well, that would be because he made that pit stop when he did. Granted, he botched the entry, so Freilich actually, I think, was thinking outside the box and had the right idea to try and just pit earlier and get off cycle a little bit. Now, the reason that's going to hurt him, even aside from his mess up of pit entry, is he's not running in the draft when he pits off cycle from these guys, and he's going to be pitting here in about 5 to 7 laps or so, maybe 5 to 8. So he's going to have to deal without draft once he exits the pit lane again. He might get lucky and cycle out into a small pod of cars, but the first time especially that he exited the pit lane back onto the racetrack, he did not have that draft help, and that certainly has slowed him down in addition to obviously spinning. What is nice about that strategy, though, is he has the tires to run a little bit faster as solo cars, so he might pass some cars that way. If anybody loses the draft, he could try and pass those guys and stay ahead of them. But I really think without the draft and without racing people, he's going to hurt himself doing that.
Yeah, most definitely. I was actually looking through pit road, and it looks like Ray Dolly's, I think, might have actually taken himself out of the race, because he's currently 3 laps down. As we saw, he was in that earlier incident with Rick Ray Vaughan, I believe, and now he's 3 laps down. Looks like he was missing half of that front wing. I think he may have hit the outside wall. Not quite sure what happened. Looks like he was side by side with Thomas Gold. May have gotten a little tight, maybe hit the apron.
Whoa!
Oh,
Wow, he almost took Gold out. The car just didn't settle very well at all into the corner. We're going to watch this from his onboard. He just turns in and gets loose from the get-go. We'll watch his wheel input here, and it just broke loose. Wow. I'm going to watch this from Gold's machine, and you'll see Dolly go by on the inside here shortly and just come across the racetrack. I'm not really sure what happens to Ray Vaughan. The car just, it doesn't settle into the corner well at all. Now, we talked about the in-car adjustments a little while ago and how they can really change the handle of the race car. I think that's what got him right there. It has to be, because these IndyCars definitely would not have gotten that free just on their own. So I wonder how much weight jagger he's got put into that thing, as well as his roll bar adjustments, because we've been seeing with those adjustments these drivers can now make, these cars are definitely a lot more on edge than they used to be.
Oh, most certainly, yeah. I mean, as we saw there, that car just completely snapped. Like, whatever he did to that car, just the car did not like that at all. As Rick Ray Vaughan makes the pass to Marcus Jesdal to take the lead once again as we take lap 69 of 155.
Jesdal going to take the lead for a moment down into turn 1. Ray Vaughan slots in behind him. Now, one thing I want to mention is Spencer Madden and Matt Chubb sitting back here, just lying in the weeds pretty much of this battle, just sitting back and waiting for their time to shine and probably saving fuel. We talk about this at Michigan, and we'll talk about it some more. I say that, and actually Spencer Madden's in 5th gear. It looks like he's running this thing like he's not worried about fuel at all. 5th gear, he's topping the gear right here. You usually go up into the 6th right there, one would think. So, not really sure about that exactly from Spencer Madden. You can at least leave it in 1 gear on the entire racetrack here. Tuning into what Matt Chubb is doing is actually, there we go, Madden in the 6th gear. Matt Chubb's doing the same thing in 5th, so they're certainly keeping it in race gear right now to, I guess, keep up. They're not keeping into fourth here like we saw in Michigan, but still, I don't think they're saving much fuel at all on board Jetstal, and he's in fifth and Ray Vaughan's in fifth. So all the same gear here. I don't think they're worried about fuel right now.
No, I think fuel is the least of their worries right now. They're just trying to get the run going because I think they know. I mean, they know that they're gonna have to stop again, so they might as well just, you know, it might. Considering that we've already been green, I think they kind of already have a strategy played out to what they're gonna do. And I mean, obviously they may have worked out something so they can all pit at the same time. I mean, that's just me from a racer standpoint there. I'm not quite sure what they've worked out or even if they're all in the same strategy. But more or less, whatever they're doing is working out because, you know, they have a 5-second gap to the 5th place.
Cole Freilich back on the racetrack with some new tires and a full tank of fuel. 18.5 gallons is the usual fuel load these guys held to, as Shuttlesworth said a little while ago, 75% capacity. So you can do the math and extrapolate from there. But Cole Freilich, I'm just not so sure about this strategy. He's now one lap down and quite a ways back of anybody. He's not even in a group right now. He is running slower lap times because he's on his own. Now, these IndyCars obviously are still pretty fast, and you throw some brand new Firestone tires on them, and they will run pretty quick, but you really want that draft ahead of you to be able to make you go a little bit faster. And that's the nice thing about running in a group. Now, I say this, and actually, I noticed he was in the 6th gear there at the end of the straightaway. So he's still running plenty quick, just he'd be going faster if he was in the draft.
Yeah, the draft most definitely helps. And considering also the fact if you're running in 6th gear in a pack, it also helps you save a little bit of fuel. Running by himself, yeah, I mean, he's going to save some fuel because he's not going as fast, but as you said before, I don't think this strategy is going to work out for him.
Well, no, it's not going to help him save fuel at all because remember, he's taking the full brunt of that air ahead of him. He's having to deal with all the air resistance. And, I mean, if anything, running in the draft is going to make you save fuel. He'd want to be tucked up underneath somebody and just staying. So he's burning more and more fuel, and I don't think it's a concern. He mentioned fuel mileage probably is not on these guys' minds right now. We still have 80 laps to go, and I think everybody is in pretty much the same boat aside from Cole Freilich, and he's already made his bed and is currently lying in it, especially with his mistake on his pit entry the first time. But I don't know about this fuel strategy in the bigger picture. I'm not sure it's going to work out the way he wants it to. Now, obviously, it'll put him on the lead lap when things cycle out come to the end of the race if things keep going the way they are, but he is still not going to, I think, have the result that he wants. Obviously, it's going to be hard to tell because of his spin when he came in to pit that first time. Meanwhile, the lead battle continues on. Ray Vaughan has company from Jesdal, Madden, and Chubb, and that has not changed since they exited the pit lane. And what has changed is their gap behind Joey Newsel and Warren Keith. These two drivers, in a bit of a tandem, have actually lost time about a second or so to those leaders.
Yeah, typically, when you try to catch a pack like that, you know, you mentioned try to tandem up and try to do that because when you're more so in a line, you want to, you know, be in a line because it's faster. And lap 78, halfway leader, as we are coming to that right now, looks like Marcus Jesdal was our leader coming to lap 78, so we will get that as soon as we cross the line here.
So Marcus Jesdal battling with Ray Vaughan still for the race lead. Spencer Madden, Matt Chubb in tow. And yeah, I wonder if they're going to take the halfway leader by the backstretch or just pick which one was, I guess, feeling the best to them right now. But Ray Vaughan leads lap 78 of 155, so a little past halfway now. And man, it's certainly been a wild 78 laps to get to this point. Let me tell you, we had those first couple of yellows to start things off. Then we had what has become a pit strategy race. It doesn't seem like it's going to really come down to too many big differences on the pit lane in terms of what you do in terms of fuel, when you come in, all that. But As actually Jesdal is going to come down the pit lane now. It's only been 27 laps. I think that's a lap or so early compared to what we were seeing with some other drivers. At the same time, though, he pitted a lap earlier than everybody else the previous time. So he's going to have company down the pit lane from that of Warren Keith. Bruno Carnero should come in. No. So Carnero is going to run up to 29 laps here on this run. You can definitely run more than Jesdal did right there. But he's going to have company from Warren Keith. We'll see how this all pans out for them.
Yeah, looking Ray Vaughan actually coming down pit road right now. Looks like Matt Chubb and Spencer Madden are staying out, so they're going to stay out another extra lap to see if they can gap themselves a little further. And then, you know, as we said before, 2 cars are faster than 1, so as long as they can try and tandem up and, you know, if Rick's by himself, that might work out in their favor.
We've had a spin here. It's Joey Neusel. At least it looked like a spin. It was definitely a big moment. Yep, it's a spin here for Joey Neusel. He was running 5th, battling there with Warren Keith. He comes in, and a similar issue to what happened to Cole Freilich just whips that car around here at pit entry. We'll watch it one more time here. This is Joey Neusel making his pit entry, and just on the brakes, the car comes around. He doesn't have any visual damage that we can see, but he might have knocked that right rear a little bit out of tow. Hopefully he can get that fixed if it is damaged and continue on, but he's going to be down on some time. Meanwhile, other drivers on the pit lane worth talking about. Thomas Gold, he's exiting now. Looks like Joey Neusel is still on the pit lane. It's been a while. We'll see when he exits. Cole Freilich goes by some of these guys. Bruno Carnero is still on the pit lane as well. Bruno Carnero, I'm not sure what's up for number 20. Shuttlesworth, do you have anything?
I'll get back to you on Bruno Carnero. I haven't noted anything myself. I've been busy just taking a look at guys that are starting to pin in as you guys are. But I'll get back to you if I find anything.
That's a big 10-4 on that. Bruno Carnero looked so good earlier on, now stuck in the pit lane. Well, we got to wonder what that issue might have been. He finally rolls away. It was almost a minute-long pit stop. Big issues here for Bruno. Other drivers finally coming down the pit lane. Well, Spencer Madden's finally going to make his trip down to see his crew. You can see all the bugs and dirt and rubber and things on that number 6. Zach Buchanan has not pitted just yet. Stephen Ellis either, and these two are battling now for 3rd and 4th. They'll come across the line, take 2nd and 3rd, but obviously because of the way things cycle out, not because they got there off of pure speed. And usually we see Buchanan, I feel like, mix it up a little bit. We haven't really seen that tonight. He kind of lurks a little bit, Patton, but we just haven't seen him get up there and mix it up at all.
No, not today. He'll actually cycle out as the leader, I believe, if he does not pit, because Matt Chubb is in pit road, just in the stall, coming across the line. Zach Buchanan will be cycled out as our leader. I expect him to come into pit lane very, very soon. But yeah, I mean, Zach really hasn't been mixing it up a lot today, so I don't know if he just had a bad strategy on his end, or just nothing worked out for him, or might just be laying back a little bit.
It's hard to say, but I think he's coming down the pit lane. Yes, he is. He's going to slow down, and he is going to come down to the pit lane for service. The number 4 are going to come in and get some tires and fuel. We'll see how that all works out for his team, and hopefully he can start to gain some time here and mix it up with some of these other guys. Meanwhile, looks like we're already seeing how things are going to work out. Ray Vaughan, of course, will cycle back into the race lead. He's got Spencer Madden not so far back, but a whole lot further back than he was the first time. A couple of lap cars in there as well. That's Carnero and Neusel, actually. They're racing each other here. The first couple of cars, 1 lap down.
Yeah, speaking of Bruno, I believe Trace Shuttlesworth has an update on the Bruno Carnero situation.
Reviewed onboard footage there with Bruno Carnero in the number 20 car. On pit entry, he was very, very much over the speed limit, and I believe he got a speeding penalty. Not sure how severe the iRacing penalty was, but it seemed like he was down there for maybe 30, 45 seconds before he was able to get out.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had almost a minute-long pit stop, so, you think you're usually at about 8 to 10 seconds in a normal pit stop. That's a big difference, probably 45 in there, somewhere around there. So Big issues for Carnero, going to put him back in this battle with Newsel. But the good news for Newsel is he has somebody to race now, despite his spin. So he will be able to race for that 10th spot. These guys racing for 10th and 11th. Now Madden going to bring the fight to Ray Vaughan. Those other cars that were with them, nowhere to be found because Jesdal is 5 seconds back of these two now, and he's got Matt Chubb with him. I'm not sure what the difference was, but well, it's a second in the pit stop alone between the groups of cars here. So 7.9 for both Madden and Ray Vaughan, 8.4 for Chubb, 8.5 for Jesdal. I wonder if they're short filling the fuel up front.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing. They might have taken a less fuel load or a little more of a fuel load, depending on who you're wanting to talk about there. But I think, regardless, it worked out for them. Ray Vaughan and Madden obviously kind of on the same strategy here. And then, Jesdal and Ray Vaughan, or not Ray Vaughan, Chubb pitting earlier obviously didn't work out for him, so I don't know if that'll come back later on or that might have just hurt them.
Well, looks like Jesdal and Ray Vaughan came in only a lap apart, then Chubb came in, let's see, about 6 laps ago now. 5 laps ago now, rather. Spencer Madden came in 6 laps ago. So they all kind of came in on different laps. Jesdal, then Ray Vaughan a lap later. A few laps after that, Spencer Madden came in, and finally 1 lap later, Chubb came in. So definitely some differences there. I was looking at pit lane times, and that's where the discrepancies lie. Because Matt Chubb took an extra 4 seconds almost down the pit lane compared to leader Ray Vaughan. And I think that's what ends up separating these guys. And it's a big separation. Newsel on the wall hard, and he collects Bruno Carnero. Are we finally going to get that caution? Oh,
I'm not quite sure. It looked like they got off the racing service, so they might keep it green.
There it is. I was going to say that needs a yellow because that was a pretty big incident between those drivers, albeit in the back. Definitely a big one. And you see Newsel get tied up into the wall, connects Carnero. We've talked about Carnero being seen as a very aggressive race car driver here in the IORL. Absolutely a victim in this one. An innocent victim just was racing and suddenly was not anymore.
Yeah, just had really nowhere to go. Happened right in front of him. I bet Ray Vaughan and Spencer Madden are very glad that they were in front of that incident.
Absolutely. There's the onboard from Bruno Carnero. So suddenly that pit lane issue compounds into something much worse. We'll see the slow-mo here for Carnero. I mean, he had such a good run going, too. He started 9th, but he quickly got up into the top 5 and was racing around to those guys for quite a bit. And then pit stops happened, of course. He got cycled out and then sped in the pit lane this last time around. And it's going to compound into something much worse for Bruno Carnero. He's already wasted that fast repair, remember. So I think he's done.
Yeah, I think he's done after that one too. Unfortunate, he was trying to get back into the mix of things, had an issue. And, if that caution would have played out any other way, I believe he would have been the first car lap down. So that would have played into his factor, getting the free pass, lucky dog, whatever you want to call it. And he might have been back into the mix, but unfortunately he is taken out in that race, or in the incident, so therefore his race is over.
While these guys get their pit stops out of the way, we wanted to talk to this guy a little while ago in the pre-race. We didn't quite get the chance to, so we're going to talk to him now while we have the chance under caution. Matt Chubb, do you have a copy?
I gotcha.
Well, we didn't get to talk to you last week after Laguna Seca. You come into Auto Club Speedway tonight, and obviously, we talked about it in Michigan. You've got it wrapped up, obviously. You clinched it a while back, but tonight you're finally going to be crowned the IORL Season 11 champion officially. How does it feel, and how has this race maybe been changed by that?
Yeah, it feels awesome just to be able to run as consistent as I have all year. So tonight's race, it's my first time at California in the IndyCar, so I just didn't qualify like I usually do at ovals. Try to figure it out the first couple runs and got the hang of it now. So glad to be up here up front in the last race.
Absolutely. So we saw some pit strategy kind of change things up there. Or really, I think just pit execution. What was the difference? What separated you guys there before we had that caution?
Yeah, I pulled just a hair too far forward in my box on that last pit stop, on that last green flag stop.
We can kind of hear some of the background sounds, so I guess that's why you're pausing there. But
Yeah.
what's the, I guess, plan here for the rest of the race? What's your attack for the next 60 or so laps?
My plan is I'm gonna ride around here in fourth, let those guys just keep trading spots in front of me. I'm not sure why they're being so aggressive in a 150 lap race, but that's my plan. I'm just gonna put it in map 4, ride behind them for a little bit, and then go for the win at the end.
Well, sounds good, Matt. We'll get you moved back up. Before we do that, who do you have to thank for your run tonight and your championship this season?
Yeah, I want to thank God, my family, Lincoln Electric, my sponsor, Barstool Sports, and my new fiance, April, recently engaged.
Well, congratulations, man. We have more than just an iRacing championship to congratulate you for now. So congratulations on that. Hope everything goes as planned. Hopefully it's a beautiful wedding.
Thank you, guys.
So that's Matt Chubb, and man, newly engaged. That's pretty cool, actually. That's it's the first time we've had that kind of an announcement on our broadcast. We're going to go back green flag racing here, lap 94 of 155. A very weird restart. A very weird restart that time, but they get it figured out.
Yeah, that was a very interesting restart, but they got it figured out. And I think Trey Shellsworth had something to talk about on fuel saving to the end.
So as we see Madden looking to the inside, he's going to claim the race lead as we go through 3 and 4. But no, we restart here with 61 laps to go. We know the maximum fuel run is like 28, 29 laps. So if these guys can save a couple of laps here, they could be on the cusp of potentially saving an entire stop. So I hope we go degree to the end. I think it'd be a lot of fun to have a fuel strategy.
Absolutely. We had it for the SRCA a few weeks back, and I mean, we were so excited for Hardy to actually run that fuel strategy out and beat Ray Vaughan that way. I would imagine it's absolutely possible here. I think the same kind of strategy now. We don't know how short those guys were pitting from what they actually could have run either, so they might have even had a couple of laps comfortably. We'll have to wait and see how things work out. The battle rages on for the race lead. It's Spencer Madden and Ray Vaughan, and then parade laps really for the whole top 5 or so as they enter turn 1. Spencer Madden leading. Freilich now into second place, passing Ray Vaughan, but Ray Vaughan's going to cross and back up. It's Warren Keith in 4th. It's Jesdal further back in 5th, and then Matt Chubb, our champion, in 6th.
Yeah, we were actually talking about Bruno. He's actually still on track. His race is not done, but he is 2 laps down. But I believe his car's still going, obviously, because he's still on the track. But Matt Chubb, as you see, up in the mix. He is currently actually not up in the mix. He's actually running 7th right now. So he is, as he said, just kind of cruising around, waiting for everything to get settled in. Being aggressive early on is not really his goal right now. So he's just trying to let everybody get into their groove, and he's going to find his and try to be there at the end.
They continue to race here amongst the top 5. It's Ray Vaughan leading the way over Freilich now. Spencer Madden has fallen back into 4th. He's under fire now from Jesdal. They continue to swap spots a little ways back. Lap 99 of 155. We saw Spencer Madden there lose a lot of time in the corner. He actually got a bit tight and lost a handful. No, that was not Madden. That was Jesdal, my bad. Very similar painted race cars between Madden, Freilich, and Jesdal. The whole bunch, and Jesdal got very tight through 1 and 2, lost a lot of time right there. He's back into 7th place, under fire from Gold in 8th. So big issues there for the 43, but he'll be able to work that back out. Now a big move to the inside from Freilich. He almost clipped the front end of Warren Keith. Warren Keith in this battle suddenly as well, and he goes for second, gonna tighten up to the inside of Ray Vaughan, falls back into third, is gonna lose third, it looks like, to Spencer Madden.
You want to talk about earlier Zach Buchanan not really getting up in the mixing things up. Zach Buchanan currently in 5th place with about 55 laps to go. So as we were talking about him not getting up in the mix of things, and he's currently up here in the top 5, so I expect to see him maybe get up and mix things up. So we're going to see here they're side-by-side for the lead, excuse me. Cole Freilich, Rick Ray Vaughan side-by-side. Spencer Madden, P3. Warren Keith, P4. Jesdal passes Buchanan for P5. Is there side-by-side? I believe that is Matt Chubb and Zach Buchanan side-by-side as we come out of turn 4. So we're just going to sit here and watch this battle go on. We're going to take a rest from the microphone really quick and just let these engines speak for themselves, as we're actually almost 3 wide out of turn 2. And we'll let this battle go underway and let you guys take a look and listen to what we are... just let you guys take a listen. As you see there, Rick Ray Vaughan going all over the place, trying to defend that top spot from Warren Keith, as Warren Keith cycles back to the 3rd spot, being ran down by Marcus Jesdal. Cole Freilich making a run on the outside to Rick Ray Vaughan for the race lead. Doesn't quite get it done as Rick Ray Vaughan holds the bottom as we cross the line for lap 104 of 155.
So these guys finally ticking some laps off once more. We saw those early cautions kind of hold them up a little bit. Then they got into their mid-race groove. Then they had that break there for Joey Newsel wrecking out of turn number 2, collecting Carnero. Now they're back at it. See, only 3 cautions. It was starting to look like these guys were going to be aggressive all night long. Oh, it's actually almost contact there for Jesdal and Warren Keith. That was very, very close racing. It looked like these guys were going to have a lot more yellows than we actually ended up having here tonight. But you know what? 43 lead changes. And we're going to have to utilize Shuttlesworth here with some math to kind of figure out if these guys are on pace by the end of the night. And right now they're on pace to beat that 2015 number of 80 lead changes for the actual IndyCars series, because we're at 43, just past halfway, double that, and we're at about 86, give or take some. I wonder, once we come to the end here in 50 laps, if we're still going to be on pace to beat.
I think it'll be tough, but it's definitely possible. I think the issue with the lead change statistic for us tonight, though, is the fact that it only gets counted if there is a lead change at the end of the lap. And that you tend to see that's a bit of an issue when calculating lead change. You had a lot of super speedways where you could have multiple change in stock cars where you could have multiple changes over the course of a lap. So it doesn't give you a real legitimate figure of how many actual passes for the lead there were. But I think, it's been very competitive early in the run, but we're also working with about, 10 less cars than that 2015 IndyCar race, and we're working with about 25 less laps. So the odds are against us, but I think we're going to have a lot. Oh, car defense.
That's massive. Warren Keith stuck in the catch fence. We see it there. And no caution as of yet. That's surprising. I can't believe we don't have a caution for this. A car is stuck in the catch fence, and we're going to keep racing.
All right, man, caution
there
is
it
out.
is.
Caution is out.
I was going to say, I can't believe we were going to stay green like that. Wow. We're going to see what happens here to Warren Keith. And it's not going to be pretty. In fact, it looks like it involves Marcus Jesdal. We talked about him being real aggressive a couple of weeks back at Michigan. Aggressive again and making mistakes last week at Laguna Seca. And he was, I believe, given a penalty. I'll have to refresh myself on exactly what the penalty was. I don't want to say too much here without knowing my facts, but he was issued a penalty of sorts. I'm going to refresh myself on that. After Laguna Seca last week, that incident involving Nate Seifker, and wow, you see it there. We'll look at it some more.
Yeah, it looked like he might have came up the track a little bit and just hit that left rear tire of Warren Keith and just sent him up into the wall. We'll get another look at it here because I don't think Warren Keith came down the track and hit him. But, we'll get another look at it here before I point the blame at anybody.
So Warren turns down here. He goes from the fourth groove up. We're going off the seams here, and does turn down a little bit. And, man, they kind of, well, Jesdal definitely washes up, but Warren Keith was absolutely pinching down a little bit to obviously hold his exit down a bit. So, I mean, that's tough to call.
Yeah, I wouldn't really point that on you can't really point the blame on one driver per se, because as you said, Jesdal came up the track a little bit, and as we see, Warren Keith most definitely did come down the track. So I'd say more of like a racing, maybe call it a racing though, because it was both the drivers did have something to play a factor into that crash.
To back myself up here, it was a time penalty for Marcus Jesdal, so he only lost a few positions, but a penalty was issued after the fact, after Laguna Seca, that has backed his finishing position up a bit. I mean, it's tough to call, but if I'm going to blame either driver, it's going to be the driver that is behind and the driver that is passing, which in this case is going to be Marcus Jesdal, and I want to watch his onboard here and just get a better idea of exactly what happens. Now, we have the claim system, I believe, for cautions here, right, where if you don't claim your yellow, it gets reviewed later. I wonder if he's going to claim this one because, man, if I was him, I certainly would to avoid a post-race penalty. He washes up. There it's pretty plain as day. He washes up the racetrack, and I think that's the most important thing to look at in this incident.
Yeah, you talk about the gentleman's agreement here, claiming the caution, and they actually just extended the yellow, as I was just informed that I believe race admins are reviewing this incident because from what I'm seeing, nobody has claimed the incident, at least in text chat. I'm not quite sure over voice chat, so I believe this is underway because no one is taking the blame on that. So I believe we'll find out very soon the verdict of this wreck.
Yeah, so we're going to, we'll step aside here. We're going to leave you with Marcus Jesdal for a moment. We're going to step aside, try and find some more information on all of this. We'll be right back to you. We just saw Warren Keith right there zoom up to Marcus Jesdal, so we know how at least one party feels, and that's certainly the Warren Keith feels like he was just wronged. I can't blame him for feeling that way, but man, you know what? We don't usually do this. I want to talk to Warren Keith. I want to see if we can get him in here. And if we can hear the opinions here of Warren Keith. We don't usually do this, but we'll give it a shot here. Warren Keith, do you have a copy?
I do.
Well, Warren, we're talking about the incident that just happened, obviously. We saw you go up there and give Marcus a bit of a visit. How do you feel about it?
Not happy. Not happy at all. He's been driving like a complete nuthead all day. And, we've been telling him, it's like, dude, you need to chill out, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's racing, but at the same time, you just gotta leave the line. You know, I came down, he came up, but he's been pushing up the whole run, so he knows to just let off the throttle, and I'm just not happy that our day's killed because just stupidity.
Well, you say your day is killed, but there's only not even a dozen cars here, and you got a lot of racing to go. What's your best plan of attack? I mean, I know you're a couple of laps down. I see that now, actually. This would be why you're saying it's killed, but you still have a ways to go. What's your plan of attack?
Plan of attack is just the ride here. Hope for a couple cautions, hope for people to pit, and hopefully gain a couple of these laps back. Luckily, these delayed yellows have helped us fix the car up a bit so we can get back out here. But yeah, you're right. You know, point stay, definitely. But, you know, this is the best run we've had all season. It's just a shame it's ended so early.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 laps led, but that's not exactly telling of the tale of the number 24 car tonight. Definitely have run up in the front more often than not. Trey Patton, Trey Shuttlesworth, you guys got anything for him?
I mean, as he said, you've been up front more or less most of this race. Got a lot of action, you know, a lot of aggressiveness going up. You more or less can hear, you know, you're hearing everything. What was the verdict on that? Like, I see Jesdal got an EOL penalty, so I assume, you know, I know in IORL, in this series, there's a gentleman agreement was nobody wanted to take the claim on that, and then Zach had to review it, and then that's why the penalty was issued.
Yeah, there was definitely a review, and you know, the result is what it is. You know, there's something more we can do in race, but you know, if justice is served, justice would be both of us out of the race effectively. But you know, it is what it is, and we'll talk about it more after the race.
10-4, man. Well, a lot of racing left in this, and we'll put you back in your channel as we're about to go green.
All right, thanks, guys. Good job on the broadcast.
Well, thanks to Warren Keith for, despite being obviously upset, talking to us there. And, man, sometimes the mad interviews are the best interviews, so I'm glad he was open to talking to us right there, because a lot of drivers might not be. Which, hey, fair enough, but we'll get back racing here shortly. The pace car lights are off, and you saw the penalty given to Bruno, or sorry, not Bruno, to Warren, words. Who am I even talking about? Marcus Jesdal. We saw him go to the back, and he has been given that EOL. And we'll see if I can figure these drivers out. I get it right for 111 laps, mix it up on 112. But we go back green flag racing, lap 112, now 113 of 155. They're already racing for second.
As you see, there is a single file restart. It looked like Ray Vaughan kind of pulled down to the inside line. Oh, as we're wrecking again. Cole Freilich hard to the outside wall. Looks like 2 cars. Looked at Marcus Jesdal's also involved. Joey New, I'm not quite sure who that was. Up and over on his roof right now, on his lid.
That is, ooh, I think that might be. Oh, that's Bruno. Oh, that's really unfortunate actually for Bruno Carnero. He's been flirting with danger the entire evening and being close to out of this, and then continuing on, and now he is officially out of this, and we'll have to see how this all starts up. This is a big one. This is a big one.
It looks like race control is giving Cole Freilich an end of longest line penalty, so I believe Cole hit the apron there and just caused that pile up there. So Cole looks like took the blame on that one, as we see there. That very much so was him causing that incident. So we saw earlier on in the race somebody hit the apron. I can't really remember who it was at this point. It might have been Bruno that hit the apron earlier.
I believe it was Bruno, yeah.
So as you can see there, apron is not your friend, and unfortunately it takes out 3 cars.
Including Marcus Jesdal. Now we just heard from Warren Keith and his opinion on things. He felt that if justice was served, Marcus Jesdal would be out of this race. I think he is now.
Yeah, and actually that penalty right there, as you see, Warren Keith just drove right through it too. So I believe that's going to take out Jesdal, and that's going to actually give Warren Keith a lap back. So that actually worked out in Warren Keith's favor.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's the penalty. I mean, that's why that penalty matters so much. That's why they do it, because if you cause that caution, suddenly you're back there in the danger zone, or you just might get taken out again. That's exactly what happens, and we'll watch the slow-mo from the onboard of Jesdal here, and you're going to see Freilich on the left side gets loose. That collects Carnero, sends him up the racetrack. No time for Jesdal to react, and suddenly he's in it. And it doesn't look like a lot of damage, but that's what does it right there. That contact with the outside safer barrier is going to hurt this number 43. And if this was real life and we had a more accurate damage model, I mean, that car would be torn to shreds. Well, not shreds, but to pieces. The wheels would not be straight. Likely be relying on the wheel tethers to keep the wheels even close to that race car. So, definitely a big one here. It looks like Stephen Ellis was involved as well, so I want to see what happens to him.
An actual update on Marcus Jesdal. He is back on track. Looked like he did have that faster repair saved up. Because he's got a... Looks like he has a front wing back on that thing. I don't know if they just replaced it or if he did have a fast repair, but he is still in 7th place on the lead lap as we're looking at Stephen Ellis.
He was just behind it.
Looks like he just slowed down to miss it, so fortunate for him. But yeah, Marcus Jesdal, 7th place, still on the lead lap, so he might actually still be in this after that.
So Marcus Jesdal will stay in things. Trey Shuttlesworth, I know we talked about the possibility of some fuel strategy to try and go to the end earlier on. It looks like that's been blown up, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think a bit of the issue at this point is that it's pretty much a cut and dry one-stop, race to the finish here. You really can't, pull any fourth dimensional chess moves the rest of the way. Although you do have a pretty open window here in terms of when you want to pit on this last pit stop, barring any additional cautions. Because we've learned that we can go about, say, 30 laps to the end. That means the pit cycle opens on lap 125. The maximum you can go is about 30 laps, so that puts you at about 145 where you can go before having to pit. So there's a lot of variability over the course of these last 30 laps. I don't expect many early pitters because you'd be sacrificing all that slipstream in a pack in the draft, and you'd also be putting yourself at risk if a yellow comes out.
So there you hear it, kind of the go-to on strategy tonight. Trey Shuttlesworth giving his opinion on things, and I don't disagree at all. I think it's pretty cut and dry. You've got to pit at some point in this run. The difference maker will be when you pit and whether or not you execute on your pit stop. Of course, you can break this thing up into probably 40 different ways, considering we've got about 40 laps to go. So it's really just up to these drivers on when they want to come down the pit lane, when they want to take service, get their 4 tires and fuel. But for now, it's lap 116 of 155. We're coming to the restart. The whole field's slow. Jesdal, very bad restart. In fact, that's right in front of Warren Keith. They go side by side across the stripe. Now 3 wide into turn 1.
Side by side going into turn 1. Warren Keith definitely getting up next to him, probably expressing some displeasure there as he actually they're actually still side by side going down the back straightaway as he files in right behind him. So we're looking at the battle for the lead here. Zach Buchanan making a run for the lead as he clears both Spencer Madden and Rick Ray Vaughan and pulls away to be our leader. Speaking of leader, how many lead changes have we had now? So we're only coming up on about 30 laps to go. 47 lead changes. So I don't think we're quite on pace yet. But, as we said before, there's a lot of racing left in this as we see Spencer Madden making a run for the lead going into turn 3. Rick Ray Vaughan also making a run to the inside of Zach Buchanan.
Well, and of course, we're working with 45 fewer laps than we had in 2015 for the actual NTT Data IndyCars Series race. The final one that we've had at Auto Club Speedway, of course, these very fast and sometimes very sensitive race cars at a big track like this sometimes can get out of hand. But 80 lead changes that year in 500 miles, which is 250 laps. So actually, wow, I think we're beyond on pace to beat that in terms of lead changes per lap, if you will. So 95 actually less laps. We were talking about 45, 95 less laps, and we're definitely going to blow it out of the water.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot of aggressive driving out here as we see almost 3 wide. Rick Ray Vaughan powering himself from the bottom side to the lead as they're side by side for second. gonna single out here going into turn 3. Looks like Cole Fralick gonna go right to the bottom. Not quite gonna clear Spencer for second as he does now out of turn 4. Zach Buchanan singles himself out to P4 or P3. No, P4. Warren Keith lap down, trying to get up front, maybe to try and get his lap back. But don't want to be overly aggressive if you're Warren Keith here, because you don't want to end your race while trying to race up with the leaders.
Well, I was going to say, Warren Keith getting into this thing, he's actually trying to unlap himself right now. If he can get by these leaders, he can unlap himself and not have to rely on a caution to get that lap back. Now, I'm not so sure how much it would actually help him, but if we get a caution, he should get the lap back regardless. So right now, he's just kind of seeing what that car's got left in it. And I think just trying to maybe just, I mean, it's going to sound bad, but make himself feel better about it. Because, of course, you've been running so good all race long, and now you're a lap down to these guys as opposed to racing with them for position again. So you just want to be able to go up there and race at this point. Back up to the front, though, Ray Vaughan leading, well, the charge to get to the lead, because Cole Fralick has hung on to the lead for a couple of laps now. This time Ray Vaughan leads that charge to the outside line. It's going to work out for him, and he's going to retake the point for a moment. Fralick noses ahead again. Wasn't Cole Fralick just the kind of the spark that started that fire that was that wreck out of turn 2? I mean, Cole Fralick was just in a massive accident. He's had a really rocky road to get to this point. Now, with just over 30 laps to go, he is your race leader.
As we look further back, Marcus Jesdahl working his way to the bottom to the 3rd spot, making his way up to 2nd now, pushing right behind Cole Fralick, trying to make a run for the lead. Ray Vaughan making that outside line work, as we've seen him work that outside all day long, and it has really been working out in his favor.
Ray Vaughan pulls to the inside, and he's going to take that inside lane away from Cole Fralick this time. Makes the pass for the race lead through turns 3 and 4. That means that, well, Fralick's going to have to defend double time for Marcus Jesdahl. If he gets back there, he does not. So Fralick down to the inside. He's going to run alongside Ray Vaughan across the stripe, and into turn 1, he gets that lead back from him. Spencer Madden sitting back here in 4th place, though. He's doing the exact same thing he was doing earlier on, letting these guys fight and sitting back from it all.
Yeah, and them doing all that's getting Spencer Madden up into the mix. That 6 machine. Spencer Madden, oh. But, yeah, Spencer Madden finally getting up into the mix of this Jesdahl, as we see Warren Keith and Zach Buchanan go over there. Ray Vaughan still in 2nd. As we're looking here, the battle between Spencer Madden and I believe I lost my train of thought there. Cole Fralick making a run for the lead. Just had I guess one of those Cole Fralick brain fades, if you will.
Hey, it happens. Happens. Words. See, you know, I just don't even want to try sometimes, man. The brain fade you just talked about, I just stumbled over a whole lot of words right there and some sounds even. But let's see, under 30 laps to go now. Let's try and recenter ourselves here. And Ray Vaughan back down to the inside of Cole Fralick. That is good for the race lead once more. So Ray Vaughan reassumes P1. Jesdahl back there in 3rd, racing it out with Spencer Madden. A little ways back, it's not that blue car for 5th. It's actually Zach Buchanan racing for 5th place. He is ahead of Steven Ellis. That's the battle for 5th and 6th. Ellis noses ahead into the corner, but Buchanan has the bottom side. Meanwhile, Matt Chubb, we saw him go for the lead a little while ago on that real long run. Now he's in, well, he was in 7th. He's actually passed Buchanan. Buchanan with some issues.
Yeah, it looks like Buchanan's been kind of leaking out a little bit. We've seen him kind of fading in and out. That's what the tire smoke is, and I don't know. He's been kind of doing that all day, but I feel like that might be why he's kind of fading off a little bit. But I don't know if he might be having some computer issues with that itself. But rather unfortunate for Zach Buchanan, who was actually starting to finally have something going. As we see Warren Keith go way down to the bottom there, as we mentioned before, he's actually a lap down. So getting up into the mix with this this field up here,
Oh, they're wrecking Stephen Ellis in the wall hard.
Caution is out.
That will definitely help Warren Keith right there. He's the only car lap down, and that changes the whole race. We're gonna go green with roughly 20 to go. We'll get a replay of this here, and I'll let you talk.
He just clips the apron and is going to go for a ride. That's now the third or fourth time we've seen it take a driver out of this one. And Stephen Ellis, I don't think he's had to use his fast repair yet, so he should get back into this. But, man, we've seen it time and time again now, and we'll watch it one more time, this time from the onboard of Stephen Ellis. The WeatherTech number 46 just ends up, he suddenly gets some front grip and ends up cornering so well that he drives onto the apron just about and is going to, wow, just hits that outside wall a ton. And that's really going to hurt that machine. That will almost definitely require a fast repair, I would imagine, to get that car back race ready. But thankfully, again, I think he has one in the bank. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, that car is hurt bad. Meanwhile, pit stops underway. The first time we're seeing them live in just a little while. They're all coming down the pit lane. We've got, it looks like, 7 cars. There we go, coming out of the pits.
Yeah, I believe now with this caution coming out, I believe this will be the last stop if we go green to the end. So
yeah, we could bring Shuttlesworth back into this, but I think we're good for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing with no green-white checkers, unlike our stock car counterparts. Yeah, we're looking at 25 laps to the end of the race. Good to go. Let's go all out for 25 laps. Hopefully, we have no yells the rest of the way.
So it looks like things are sorted out, but Cole Frelick going to lead his way off of the pit lane. It's Ray Vaughan in second now, Spencer Madden in third, Marcus Jesdahl fourth, Matt Chubb up into fifth, Buchanan in sixth, and Stephen Ellis. We'll see if he gets back on the racetrack.
So I think with Warren Keith being the wave around there, I don't think he can pit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It depends. If he's the free pass, he can. If he's a wave around, he cannot. And considering, yeah, he's taking a free pass, he should be good.
Okay, because I wasn't quite sure, because I know they had like a rule saying or something, if you were a lap down, you couldn't pit or something if you got a wave around. So
that may be, because he is clutching. That may be. You may be correct. It may be different from the usual procedure there. So I may just not be clear on that. It's been a while since I've been a driver with the IORL, so I may just not be totally fluent there. But yeah, I mean, he's clutching. He's definitely saving fuel.
Gotcha. Because I just figured, I was like, that worked out in his favor, but, he's obviously not going to be on the freshest tires. But
well, he's going to need a whole second caution here.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at 25 laps now on this stint. Granted, a couple of cautions in that time, but he's going to need a whole caution to be able to go to the end from this point. It doesn't matter how much fuel he's saved. He's going to need a yellow.
Yeah, most definitely a yellow would put him for sure right back into the mix of this. But, with as much as we've seen the aggressive driving early on in this race, we are now at the latter half of this race. Not even the latter half, the latter...
We're coming to 20 to go almost.
Yeah, 20 to go, yeah. I mean, so I expect a lot of aggressiveness from this field. Considering Jesdahl is still in this race, I expect a lot of aggressiveness to come out of this top 5.
For sure. So Cole Frelick is going to come around and be your race leader after some pit stops. Everybody in the top 6 is pitted. In addition to that, we have some pit stops here from Thomas Gold, Stephen Ellis, and Bruno Carnero. Bruno is in the pit lane still. But Warren Keith still on the racetrack on some older tires. We go back green flag racing.
Green flag,
a little
green
over
flag.
20 laps to go. In fact, when we cross the stripe, it'll be 23. There we go. And Colt Freilich, the race leader, Ray Vaughan, second place. They duke it out behind him. In fact, it's a pod of 3 cars, including, it looks like, that's Madden, Chubb, and Buchanan going in. No, it's not Madden. That is Jesdal. So, again, those cars that look so similar, mixing me up a little bit, but it's Jesdal, Chubb, and Buchanan going at it into turn 3. This is for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Warren Keith is going to need a whole yellow to go to the end.
Yeah, and that's, if I'm Warren Keith, that's all I'm hoping for is a yellow to come out. But in other news, Spencer Madden making a run for the lead on the bottom side, trying to pass Ray Vaughan going into turn 1, and he does. Spencer Madden, our new race leader, going onto the back straightaway of lap 134.
Big moves to the race lead. They're going to go at it some more into turn 3. Ray Vaughan this time to the outside, looking for daylight. He's not going to find any, not only because it's nighttime, but also he gets very tight out of turn number 4, and he's going to have to come back down the racetrack and block Freilich's run. Gets back in the draft, the slipstream there of the number 6. Now goes the outside. He's going to take the lead for a moment, then we'll see if he can work the top side to his favor. He's done it so good all night long. This time, though, it's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to take into consideration here. A lot of lines and zigzagging, as we've seen. Ray Vaughan still making that outside line work. As we see now, Spencer Madden, that might have been Spencer that went up to the top side. I wasn't quite sure. Actually, I think that might have been Cole right here in front of Ray Vaughan. Tried to make the outside line work there, but it didn't really work. Gives Ray Vaughan the bottom side. As we go into turn 3, he's going to slip down. Actually goes back to the outside, so they are trying to find all the room in the world, try to get that pass for the lead going.
Watching on board here from Ray Vaughan, and he's just kind of letting all of this happen ahead of him. Freilich and Madden, a couple of teammates just going at it. Ray Vaughan is leaving the car in 5th gear, hitting that rev limiter to intentionally stay behind him, and not a bad idea either, because man, if he goes 3 wide at them, they might wreck, and I mean, not even if they wreck, but they might let Zach Buchanan, Steven Ellis, and more catch up to them. It's entirely possible. Meanwhile, the teammates keep going at it, spreading out across the entire racetrack, and it gives Cole Freilich the race lead. Spencer Madden now into 2nd place. Here come Buchanan and Ellis.
Yeah, looking further back into the field, Thomas Gold sitting P7 right now. I haven't really talked much of him in the latter half of this race. We talked to him early on. Currently sitting P6, P7 right now, right in front of Warren Keith. Matt Chubb right in front of him. As we're actually looking at Steven Ellis right here, currently running 4th place. It's a decent run for him after being caught up in that incident earlier. As we mentioned, Warren Keith right in the tail end of that. As we mentioned before, he might have, because he was on pace with everybody, and now he's gone. Looks like he's going to come down to pit road. Very unfortunate. Yeah, you can see that right side of the wing kind of bent up, as we see here.
I've been muted. I promise I was calling a great bit of action there. But basically, Thomas Gold had a bit of lag, a bit of a blink, popped the fence, and got a lot of damage right there. It looks like he's done. So the Imperial Motorsports machine done for the evening, but these 4 or 5 going at it for the race lead include Freilich, Ray Vaughan, Madden, Buchanan, and Ellis. Warren Keith is in this string of cars. Remember, he's got a pit. He's not good at the end on fuel. Matt Chubb behind him is good. Meanwhile, side by side, once more for the race lead, coming to 13 laps to go, are Cole Freilich and Rick Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, Spencer Madden right behind them, as we mentioned. Zach Buchanan starting to catch a little bit of that slipstream from Spencer Madden as we go into turn 1 and 2. Matt Chubb also up into the mix of this as we look up. They get a little bit of single file there as we're kind of washing out, as we're actually on board. I believe this is with Stephen Ellis.
It is. So from the 46 machine, it's a single file line of cars up ahead. It looks like, yep, Warren Keith down the pit lane, and this is just so heartbreaking for Warren as well, given that he was in that massive turn 2 incident and got stuck on the catch fence, got the yellow. He had a tow, though. That's why he lost those couple of laps, and now is going to have to pit because the cautions just didn't follow his way. Hopefully a caution can come out to save him and get him back into this battle, because he did so good all evening long and put himself in all the right positions up until he got taken out a little while ago in that incident with Marcus Jesdahl. Meanwhile, they continue to go at it amongst the top 5. Looks like Matt Chubb is intentionally staying back out of it. 11 laps to go that time across the stripe.
Yeah, if I'm Matt Chubb, as he mentioned earlier, he's kind of just trying to trail behind and let them get all their aggressive things go. Let them do their thing and be aggressive and try to be there at the end. So I expect Matt Chubb to try and maybe be aggressive, maybe in the latter, like maybe 3 or 4 laps of this thing.
10 laps to go across the stripe this time by Trey Shuttlesworth. I got a question for you. If you're in the driver's seat of one of these Indy cars, say you're in Buchanan's position, what are you trying to do right now to get yourself an edge over the rest and try to win this race?
The big issue right now is the fact that we're running out of time and the tires are starting to run out of optimum grip. So, the farther you are back in the pack, the worse it is to try to make up ground when you get later into the run. The only thing he can do in his position to try to make up spots is to try to get clean air, especially on corner entry, because you'll just get so much more additional downforce by being able to peek out ahead of the car you're trailing. And I think we're going to see Buchanan do this. He takes a slightly different line from Madden. So when he gets off corner, he's going to be right in the slipstream on exit, but on entry where downforce is so key, he's doing all he can to try to get a little bit of clean air. It's about all you can do in the scenario.
So Zach Buchanan right now in 4th place, and definitely appreciate the insight there from our analyst and social media guy right now, Trey Shuttlesworth, playing double duty. And man, we're going to have to get a term for you. Larry Mack has his Larry McNuggets, or McNuggets, or whatever you want to call it. Can we get shuttle nugs or something of the sort, something like that? We got to get something for his little bits of insight there. But Shuttlesworth giving us that bit of info, kind of what he would do in Buchanan's position. And again, Patton and Shuttlesworth, you guys raced in the Indy 500 for this league. And, man, that was a heck of a show. We had Emerson Ardon and Chris Nunn in the booth for that one. It was a lot of good racing. Rick Ray Vaughan won it, of course. And, I mean, he's been on a tear in IndyCar oval racing as of late. But, Patton, from your end, what are you doing to try to win this race?
Kind of just like what Trey said. You want to try to find some clean air on the corner entry, because it's definitely going to help with some extra downforce and everything. But you want to be kind of closer up. You don't want to gap yourself a little too far, because as he said, as you get further on in the run, the tires aren't going to be at optimum grip. You're going to be all over the place trying to find it, trying to be behind the fastest guy. I wouldn't want to make the gap any further than really what it is right now, especially since there's a lot of time in the corners here, not a lot of time going down a straightaway per se, if you will. As we actually have one car around, Stephen Ellis, 2 cars around. I think we might have a yellow. I'm not quite sure.
All right, man.
There it
Caution
is.
Out. Caution is out.
Big issues. This may save Warren Keith, though. He is 1 lap down, but should get the wave by for this. Meanwhile, it's Buchanan and Ellis involved in this one. 6 laps to go when we get a replay up on your screen. So Buchanan was up here racing for 4th. Ellis goes to the inside, a big move, and I think just gets tight. Yep, carries him up to the outside wall, gets into him a bit, and Buchanan just ends up getting loose. And man, he gets into that wall hard. That was exactly like, gosh, who was it earlier on? It was Newsel. They hit the inside wall so hard, I believe, wasn't it?
I believe so. I don't want to say we're 100%
No, it was
correct on
Thomas
that.
Gold. That's right. It was Thomas Gold, the number 10.
It was Gold. That is right.
We'll get another look at things here for Zach Buchanan and Stephen Ellis. And again, Stephen just goes to the inside. And, I mean, he had something going for him at first, but another big, aggressive move. He was quite a ways back and then just arrow tight. I think he kind of checked his steering in the center of the corner. I think that's what really did him in. Got him tight into Buchanan. He goes for a bit of a spin. He'll continue on. I'm more so worried about the number 4 of Zach Buchanan being able to continue into this race and compete, because I think he's got a faster pair in the bank, but it's a matter of being able to capitalize on it right here at the end. Warren Keith should get our free pass, I would assume. And the number 24 should get back into this one. There he goes, Warren Keith. Oh, checks up a little bit. Is he going to go? Oh, he's on the outside of Jesdal, isn't he? He is. So he's on the outside of Jesdal right now, maybe paying him a visit once more. We'll see if he gets the free pass here towards the end of this caution.
So I have a question for Trey Shuttlesworth. So as we saw, Matt Chubb and Spencer Madden actually came down pit road. Do you agree with their call to try and get some fresh tires on this final run?
There aren't that many cons, in my opinion. It really just depends on whether or not we get, 2 or 1 laps here to finish it out here. The guys that are on older tires do have 20-lap older Firestone Firehawks, so there's definitely going to be some benefits. It's just a matter of is there enough time, and I think it's a gamble that's worth taking, especially if you're not Rick Ray Vaughan or Cole Fralick. They've been absolutely dominating. We saw Madden; he was starting to fade a little bit there as we got into the middle stages of that final run. Yeah, not a bad call in this scenario, I don't think. Jesdal, he could be in a pretty difficult situation. He's going to have to do some very difficult defending over the last 2 laps or so.
So Rick Ray Vaughan is your race leader. We're coming to 3 laps to go here. We should get back racing with either 2 or 1, depends on if whether or not these pace car lights go out. So wait on that, and the signal is we're going back racing with 2 laps to go. It's 3 to go now. It's the 1 to go signal given by the pace car and the flagman. These guys are burning some excess fuel. You can hear them on the chip right now, trying to burn some fuel out of their cars. I'm not sure who that was. That was pegging the throttle. We're going to find out. Investigative work, let's see. It's Rick Ray Vaughan all over the chip, man. No wonder Rick always wins these things. He's got these strategies figured out. He's got to burn some extra weight out of that number 5 to make himself a little bit faster in a straight line. Hopefully it works out for him. Hopefully we have a big, big race to the end here without a caution. Do want to mention Warren Keith back on the lead lap and does not have to pit. Believe me, I know 2 laps is a long ways, but he has enough fuel to make it this time. And will finish this thing as long as everything goes right on the lead lap. So Warren Keith, he was out of it a little while ago. Definitely did not like his chances, but he has a chance at some big, big points to wrap up the season. It's worth getting back to. This is the final race. This is the finale of the IORL IndyCar Series Season 11. This is it. So Rick Ray Vaughan is going for the last win of the season. He last won, I believe his last win would have been Indianapolis. In the Indianapolis 500, certainly nothing like Auto Club Speedway. We're going to go back green flag racing for a green, white, checkered. The green flag flies. We're back racing for 2 laps at Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, it looked like the field had a slight checkup there on the start. Rick Ray Vaughan obviously illustrating a great start there as he pulls about 3 car lengths. So if they don't get everything situated here and get into a line, this might be his race.
They're snaking down the backstretch. Ray Vaughan blocks to the inside, wants that inside line over Freilich. Freilich to the top. We'll see if he can get a run out of the corner. These guys are going to be it. Oh, contact, and Ray Vaughan's around!
Oh!
Freilich with him. They're going to make contact in the victory lane. Spencer Madden assumes the race lead. He's battling with Marcus Chesdahl. We'll get a replay of that incident later, but right now we've got 2 miles to go. Coming now down to a mile to go. Matt Chubb, our champion. He's 3rd place. He's got a big run on this whole finish. He's going to be going to the outside of Chesdahl.
Yeah, big implications there for this finish. I did not expect that to happen. Looks like Spencer Madden is going to come out on top. Matt Chubb across the line. Looks like he's going to get 2nd place out of that.
Matt Chubb finishes 2nd. It's Chesdahl in 3rd. Buchanan takes 4th. It's Warren Keith back into a top 5. How about that for Warren Keith? He was down and out on himself, but he's still going to finish with a top 5. That's impressive out of the number 24. But Spencer Madden wins at Auto Club Speedway. He was away for the last few weeks. He missed the last few races. He comes in tonight a little ways out of a couple of points battles he could have been in. In fact, he's going to have a shot. No, he's not quite going to get up to Scott Strandler. These are the point standings coming into tonight, but he's certainly going to keep himself in a top 3 position for this season. Impressive stuff out of Spencer Madden, winning at Auto Club Speedway, but we got to go back. We got to find out what happens here with Ray Vaughan and Cole Freilich. That was a big incident out of turn number 4, and here it is. Freilich's going to go down to the inside. He wants to make a move, and Ray Vaughan he moved. He blocked. That's entirely on Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, you see, Cole most definitely established that he was going to be down at the bottom. Rick kind of went down to throw the block there, but obviously was not clear to do so, as we saw a little bit of contact, and then I guess he looked like he may have tried to went down again, and unfortunately sent him through the grass, and then also took Cole out of the mix of that as well. So we'll get a different view of that. Almost some contact right there. Goes down to the bottom.
They're already wrecking there, so we'll go back to some more of a better view of exactly what happens. But yeah, I mean, these guys are just racing it out. Fair enough, but one of the big things in IndyCar racing, open wheel racing in general, is the way you defend. And you generally get one move. That's kind of just the rule, is you get that one move to be made to try and defend your line, and that's it. Anything outside of that is usually considered blocking, and that generally, in real racing series, will warrant you a penalty of sorts. Now, I bring this up, but I'm not accusing, and I want to be clear, I'm not accusing Ray Vaughan of necessarily blocking in a dirty way. He just tried to get down there and make his one defensive move before Cole Freilich got there, but you can't. I mean, he couldn't. Ray Vaughan had a car to his inside, unfortunately. Freilich was there, and that's the result of that one. And I want to see this from Freilich's point of view here, slow-mo as well. I want to see how established it is. I mean, it's so little, and then actually there's no contact. Ray Vaughan just gets loose and then ends up... Oh, Freilich gets loose on his own as well on the difference in banking, so there was not even contact.
Yeah, from the definitely from the TV angle, it looked like there was contact.
It did, but actually Ray Vaughan checked his steering, so he made the move to the inside, realized there was a car there, checked his steering back up the racetrack. That's what got him loose. That's why he wrecked, and then Freilich on the difference in banking there ends up going around. Watch it one more time here. So Ray Vaughan gets loose because he checked his steering, and then Freilich gets loose on the apron here. Wow. I've never seen anything like it. And they end up making contact down in the infield. You can't ride it that way, ladies and gentlemen. You just cannot ride it that way at all.
Absolutely hate to see it, but if you're Spencer Madden, you love to see it. After being gone for the last 2 races, comes back in the finale and brings it home.
He's going to win here at Auto Club Speedway. And you know what? we're going to turn it over to one Trey Shuttlesworth to try and talk to Spencer here. Trey, I'll turn it over to you.
Spencer Madden, do you have a copy?
I do indeed.
So very simply, what a way to celebrate a return to open wheel action here with IORL. Just talk us through that last restart to get going.
My goal was to get in front of Marcus and then hope that they wrecked each other, and that's exactly what happened.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, that kind of worked to perfection. You were out there running with guys like Ray Vaughan and Freilich and others for 155 laps. Just curious, where did you see yourself in terms of raw pace out there today? Because it seemed like there were a lot of strong cars out there tonight.
I figured I could win it, but I didn't think I could win it on the same tires as them two in front of me. So just needed fresh tires there at the end.
All right. Otherwise, so we conclude the season. I'm not sure where you end up in points. I think you were about third or fourth. Can we expect you to keep it up heading into the next IRL season, looking for another championship campaign?
Oh yeah, definitely. As long as I can make the whole season.
All right, that's fair enough. We'll have to see how things sort out as we head into the next season. Man, a few words, of course, but it doesn't matter. You got out there and got the job done. Any sponsors, friends, family you want to thank out there for your win out there tonight?
Man, I hate this part of the interview every week because I don't have anybody to thank.
Yeah, I know. You hate to see it. Well, I mean, we thank you for an incredible job out there. Everyone out there, all 13, 14 guys put on an excellent show tonight. And yeah, you came out on top. So congrats to Spencer Madden.
Thanks for broadcasting it, guys.
Yep.
So big win there for Spencer Madden. Excuse me. Wow. For Spencer Madden, it'll wrap up his season on a high note. Thank you, Trey, for your work down talking to our race winner. I'm going to turn it over now to Trey Patton with our champion and second place finisher tonight. Well, actually, it looks like he may have already... No, there he is. Okay, I completely overlooked him at first. So, I'll get it over to Trey Patton with second place finisher Matt Chubb.
Hey, Matt Chubb, this is Trey Patton up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, loud and clear.
Oh man, the season is over. Second place finish, and you secured the championship. How you feel right now, man?
Feels unreal. Those fresh tires there at the end were awesome. So, credit to Spencer. I just followed him down pit road for that decision, and that helped a lot there.
So talk us through that final, restart there, that green, white, checkered, and whenever Cole and Rick just kind of lost it.
Yeah, I got a terrible restart, and luckily Buchanan didn't get by me. I was able to hold him off, just got back in the draft, and then, yeah, saw Cole and Rick lose it, and apparently we were talking, they didn't touch, so both of them just lost it on their own, I think. I was just happy when I saw that because that secured my top 5 in every race this year, so that was the goal I had.
There you go. Definitely consistency did play a factor into you being the season 11 IORL IndyCar Series champion, and you end off and sail off into the sunset with a P2 finish and the championship. So I'd say you had a really good season, considering the fact that you just said that you had a top 5 in every race. So that is most definitely a season and a statistic to be proud of.
Yeah, it was a dream season. I can't thank you guys enough for the broadcast, Zach for putting on the league, and all the competitors we've raced against this year. It's been a blast.
All right, man, we got you up in the booth. Just go away and tell us everybody you want to list and thank for your season, man.
Yeah, I want to thank God, my family, my new fiance April, Lincoln Electric Welders, and Barstool Sports. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. That is our season 11 champion, Matt Chubb, our P2 finisher. Also, good luck on that wedding, man. Hope to see you back for the next season.
Thanks. We'll see you guys next year.
All right, that is Matt Chubb, everybody.
So Matt Chubb wraps up a season with a P2. consistent as ever, but we have one more driver to speak with real quickly before we wrap things up. Marcus Jesdal, you got a copy?
Yeah, hello.
Well, Marcus, first off, I want to make sure that we're pronouncing that name correctly. Is it Jesdal?
I mean, it's close enough. I'm not gonna, make any corrections to it.
Well, that works for us then. Marcus, it's been an interesting few weeks that we've covered here. We go back to Michigan, a lot of really close racing. It was just, I think, racing for the win. Last week, of course, well, we saw what happened at Laguna Seca, and tonight we have a couple more incidents. Walk us through these last few weeks here in the IORL.
Last few incidents, I mean, there was one incident now today, and I did claim, fault for it after looking at the replay, seeing that I pushed up. You need to realize when I'm driving the car, I'm looking so far up into the corner that it's not always that simple for me to see when the car is outside with a single monitor. So that was a pure racing incident by me, but the other times have been a result of hard racing, and that's why I came here. I thought this was a league where racing hard was liked, and I made good TV, but apparently it didn't go well with the guys that are regulars here.
Well, I definitely think it has made good TV, like you say. We talked about it at Michigan. I think Michigan was great stuff. I think last week is obviously up for debate. We had that debate after the fact on Facebook and talking about that time penalty. Tonight, I think just a small mistake, and we saw multiple drivers make small mistakes. So I think it's kind of part of it. When you're racing these cars at 200 plus miles an hour, a few inches apart from one another, it's going to happen. You guys are going to run into each other every once in a while, but it's been great having you here because you've definitely spiced things up and you ran these guys hard. You were right there with Spencer Madden at the end as well. What was the difference at the end between winning and finishing third?
I mean, everyone makes mistakes. It's correct what you're saying, but it just kind of gets to the point of ridiculousness when it's so biased. As when I'm making mistakes, I'm the dumbest driver on the track, and then if Bruno makes mistakes, he's the other dumbest driver on the track. And if someone else, the guys that races irregulars, if they make mistakes, it's all fine and it's not going to be processed. So not sure how or what I'm supposed to be thinking about that, but it is what it is, I guess. Some leagues are that way. But speaking of the finish today, it's what it mostly came down to was I had some crash damage, or not crash damage, there's a contact on the exit of turn 2, which made my car lose a second of pace per lap, basically. The floor was damaged. But I decided not to pit on the last restart there to try and maximize. Something happened in the front, and then something happened in the front, and then I secured a podium out of it. So strategy was on point for today, and yeah.
And speaking of strategy, we saw the mid-race kind of work you out. Well, at first you were battling with those guys mid-run. We saw those couple of pit stops that set you guys up to really a 4-car pod, and then you guys got split up on the subsequent pit stop. What happened there? What separated you from Ray Vaughan and Madden?
I think they race this car a lot more than me. I come into these sessions, I do 3 laps of practice and then I race. I don't know how to perfect my pit stops. I'm not planning on perfecting my pit stop in this series either. It's just I don't want to commit that time to this league as I'm just doing it for fun. But I think just the initial execution of coming on pit road and coming out on pit road is where they get the most time out of me.
Well, Marcus, before we let you go tonight, firstly, congrats on a podium finish tonight. I know it was pretty hard fought, and you almost had second place there at the end, lost it to Chubb in the last few hundred meters. But you still come away with a pretty solid finish. 18 laps to show for it as well in the race lead. Who do you have to thank for your third place finish tonight?
First of all, I wanna thank Franklin Ash for taking me under the wings and also introducing me to Bruno, who's been a good teammate of mine now since we started racing together at Road America. So I want to thank these 2 guys. I want to thank my sponsor ShareBox that I know. Go check it out if you need simple key exchange businesses. It's a good, good institute, or not institution, but like a good installation for Airbnb's installations and car services. And then I also want to thank Zach for putting up with all this work as well, and also including me into this league has been good, even though I do have some questions about some of the other stuff here. I mean, Zach is a good guy, but it's nothing to say against him. It's just I don't know.
Well, Marcus, thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll be talking to you later on, maybe even next season if we come back and if you come back. Hopefully we'll see you then. Otherwise, we'll see you around, man.
Yeah, I was thinking of signing up my new team, Imperial Motorsport, which is gonna debut maybe next season. We'll have to see. I got some contract talks in.
Well, Marcus, again, thanks for your time, and hopefully we see you around.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So that's Marcus Jesdahl. Obviously, has his own views and opinions on things, and 100% understands some of the frustration, guys, and I can understand where he's coming from a little bit. So yeah, we'll leave that one there. I tell you what, though, he's absolutely right. He's definitely made some great TV as of late. It has been some amazing racing these last few weeks here in the IORL to wrap things up. Before we wrap things up on an evening well done on the racetrack, we've got to pay some bills. You see those lights up there? We got to keep those lights on, and we got to keep the broadcast going out to you guys. So I'll turn it over to Trey with some sponsor readouts.
First off, we're going to do some Don't Drive Half-Fast sponsors. Obviously, the pole award went to Ray Vaughan. The Hard Charger award, looks like we're going to send that to Matt Chubb. Started 13th, finished 2nd, so he will be our Hard Charger of the race. The next one, fastest lap, I think, might have went to Thomas Gold. Not quite sure on that one. And then obviously our halfway leader was Ray Vaughan. And then another sponsor we need to read out. We have the USRA. The United Sim Racers Association was created with the intent to bring the racing back to the drivers. The Grand Am Series showcases Daytona prototypes, GT and TC cars with fixed setups with the intent to have the driver win the race and not the setup. The season kicks off in September with the 2.4 hours of Daytona. To learn more and to sign up, visit them at UnitedSimRacersAssociation.com. Next, we have our presenting sponsor, or no, not our presenting sponsor. We have Imperial Motorsports. Actually, I might have screwed that up. Imperial Motorsports is a dedicated group of drivers that strive for clean and professional racing. Imperial Motorsports was created in 2016 and has continued to prove on-track success with numerous victories, including iRacing Official Series, Daytona 500, and Indy 500 wins. Imperial Motorsports Facebook page is the home of all the information you need to keep up with them in their recent news. And then, to thank our presenting sponsor, Timeless Engineering and Design.
We didn't get to talk about permanent makeup and cryo in Maine earlier on, so we'll talk about them now. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. At Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give them a call today to book a consultation. Now, to call them, you can call number 207-358-8683. Again, that is 207-358-8683. Now, I want to quickly, we're going to lengthen this plug here for Permanent Makeup and Ashley, because it's not just what you might usually think of where you're, plastic surgery or whatever. They have several kind of treatments to just help you better your appearance if you feel like that's something you want to do. So the cryo part of the Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine is they can actually freeze fat cells, and you can lose some weight that way. I mean, it's really quick, really easy. That's only an example of some of the other procedures that they provide, some of the other services, and they're only adding more and more people, more and more employees to their lineup, pretty much. So I mean, they're only adding more and more professionals to their lineup of professionals. There you go. That's kind of redundant. That can provide you with that service. And they're adding locations here soon as well. So definitely, at the very least, what you can do is you can keep up with Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and there you'll see that they do monthly giveaways. And you just might win if you enter your entry. And again, I know that's redundant a little bit, but you just might win. So go ahead, check them out on Facebook. Again, that's Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Cryo is spelled C-R-Y-O. It's with an ampersand for and you can look those guys up. At the very least, go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com, check them out a little bit, and see what they are all about. And yeah, Ashley is doing a great job with her new business, figuring that all out and taking it to some big places. I know there's a lot of big things ahead for her. We also want to talk about Whiplash Media. I talked about the camera angles way earlier on at the top of the show, if you remember that. But Whiplash Media can help you out with some of those. PitStop TV's new parent organization, Whiplash Media, specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing with new things such as photography, social media management, and public relations. Whiplash Media can currently be found on Facebook and at whiplash-media.com. Now, before we totally wrap things up here, Trey, let's go ahead and take a look at our results. Spencer Madden, of course, winning this race in commanding fashion. It didn't always look like Spencer was the one to beat, but ends up P1 when it's all said and done. Matt Chubb in second place, and it's Marcus Chesdahl, Zach Buchanan, Warren Keith, your top 5.
Steven Ellis rounds out P6. Cole Freilich and Rick Ray Vaughan round out 7th and 8th after that last lap incident. Very much a heartbreak for both of those guys because I know they were both wanting to get the end of that. Thomas Gold, P9, and Bruno Canero ends up top 10.
A little ways back, you see Joey Newsel, Ray Dolly. They have early exits, as well as Grant Timms. Grant Timms, out of 155 laps, only made it 4. Let's see if we can get the actual number, because math just is not working for me right now. Well, that didn't help me at all either, but we're going to do some quick math. What is that, 31 laps? So unfortunately, Grant Timms not quite getting to where he needed to be this evening, only going for about 30 laps. Ray Dolly, about 25 more than that. 95 laps down. It's Joey Newsel in 11th, though, and Joey had that big hit to the inside wall. Again, thankful that this is a simulator. He doesn't have to feel that one. Or no, that was Thomas Gold, but I think Newsel had his own big hit. So a lot of big hits this evening. Again, thankfully these guys won't be feeling it when they wake up in the morning. I want to get back to something we talked about here, guys, because we mentioned the possibility of eclipsing that lead change record, I guess, or at least that number for the last real NTT Data IndyCar Series race, Auto Club Speedway. I think we've shattered it. Possibly. We'll do some math real quick. 65 lead changes over the course of 155 laps, as opposed to 80 over the course of 250. So I'm going to do some math here on my phone. And if we take, let's see, that's 65 lead changes divided by 155 laps. That is 0.41 lead changes a lap. Hopefully I did that math the right way and I didn't do that backwards. If we take 80 lead changes in the real race, divide that by 250. Oh yeah, we blew it out of the water, boys. That's 0.32 compared to 0.41 lead changes a lap. And again, hopefully I did that math correctly. But absolutely, the rate of lead changes in this race tonight for the IORL season finale here, man, that was impressive stuff. And we had a few more there right at the end, those last few laps, with Spencer Madden, of course, taking home the race win, even though Cole Freilich and Rick Ray Vaughan were battling to the end there. So that was some great stuff tonight from the IORL. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
I think we kind of just hit the nail on the head right there. Just a lot of aggressive driving, and then we saw right at the end the two guys we thought were going to be able to get the win just had a little mishap and took themselves out of the race, and Spencer Madden ended up bringing it home after we didn't think he was going to do it.
Can we just continue to cover the series? That's all I ask, man. Let's keep it going.
You know what?
I agree.
I'm right there with you. We covered, for the first time, we covered IORL in their Season 10 finale last summer at Pocono, and that was a real treat to be there for. We got, I think, 5 races in this year here in 2020. Indianapolis for the Indianapolis 500, that was amazing to be there for. That was really a great, amazing show. I'm so fortunate that at the very least we got to cover that one. These other 4 races could have just never happened, and I would have been content with that, because Indianapolis was really an amazing show. And to be there for a full Indy 500 was cool as well. We had Detroit to follow that up. Bruno Carnero won that one in amazing style. He just outlasted everybody else. And was there when it mattered. I mean, that was an amazing win for the driver of the number 20. Then showing up at Michigan a few weeks back, that was again some great racing. Had us on our feet. Well, not quite on our feet, but had us at the edge of our seats at least for the entire event. Fast forward, I guess rewind to last week, if you will. Laguna Seca, again, a thriller. A lot of great action, and the same thing here tonight, even with a limited car count. These guys always put on a great show, and I really look forward to hopefully being able to cover more and more IORL races, because it's always a treat to be here for. But that will conclude our coverage tonight of the IORL Imperial Motorsports California 500K presented by Timeless Engineering and Designs. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Join us Friday night, in just a couple of nights, for our double-header when the LTAC Racing League heads to the Magic Mile of New Hampshire Motor Speedway for 150 miles, and of course 150 laps if it's a Magic Mile. And that is the penultimate race of their season, so things are heating up there. But a little while before that, you can tune into our Facebook and YouTube channels and see the Makoni Setup Shop Summer Tour take to the USA International Speedway. And that race, like I said, will fire off first. That series has been getting better and better. I know they've had some session setup issues, but excuse me, wow, I'm very sorry for coughing in all of your ears, but as long as that gets sorted out this week, that's going to be a great show. We have USA this week, and in a couple of weeks, we'll wrap things up at Charlotte. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV. Over on Twitter at PitStopTV_. And if you go to either one of those, you can see the great job that our analyst Trey Shuttlesworth did tonight, pulling double duty, race analyst and social media. Great job he did over there. You can go to Twitch and follow us and watch our races at twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. And of course on YouTube, simply by searching PitStop TV. For all of PitStop TV, this has been Trey Patton and Trey Shuttlesworth with me on the call tonight, and down at the pits on social media, whatever else Shuttlesworth may be good at. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV for PitStop TV, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.